Oh yeah, long time no chat. Let's do this thing. A little bit of a time change, maybe even a day change. But please don't change. Hey, I'm back. It's BC, your boy. It's the BSEX, the BCX sizzle, B sizzle in the house. It's time to ramble Campbell style. That is Reggie Jackson, my co-host. Welcome into my YouTube channel. Took last week off to be on the road, of course, for Canelo Crawford. What an experience that was. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that today. And yeah, this is what we do here almost every Wednesday, sometimes at 4 p.m. Eastern, but it is fluid. It does vary. And, this is where a grown ass washed man in his basement picks fuzz and cat hair off of things and talks really and unwanted long circular motions about everything from combat sports to mental health to 70s vinyl, 90s NBA, and whatever the heck is on your mind. All right, that's what I got going on right now. Okay, great to be back with you. Hope you're well. Right? I mean, it's the best. It's coming up. I mean, it's fall. It's basically fall, right? That's the best. That's the best season we got in these parts, whether we're talking about New England or not. But hopefully, if we're talking about autumn, we're talking about New England up in these parts. So fired up to be here. Shout out to everybody wherever you're coming from, including Lazar Nikolovsky here, straight from Aussie. All right, from down under, from the land of Long Island Luke's dad's Picage. So yes, definitely welcome here. Welcome. Did get a last minute time change, but because I had the poop pumper guy here, the what do you call that thing in your backyard? The hole, and they come with the thing, and the septic guy had to come, and it was a fluid time frame, and then it smells really bad in the backyard. But you didn't need to know that. Long Island Luke in the house. The tour of Tafa will not be as exciting next weekend as one of them pulled out of UFC Perth. So that card already buns, as my kids would say, just got bunsier. Okay, there you go, right there. Shout out to all the beautiful men here. Triple G would like that. Thank you, Kevin Holland Oates. Let's get those vibes going. Hashtag team vibes. Okay, that's how I roll in these parts. All right. I've got a few topics on my mind. We're going to chat about that. Monzo's here. We love that guy right there. Nocita's ready to bang. Okay. Green Bandana is better off with this time change. So that's why we did it right there. But we're going to talk a lot about a lot of fun stuff today. Then I'll open the floor up to you guys to get your questions asked. Of course, there's the ultimate grift known as the super chat, where you can put a little cheddar in my pocket and maybe, just hopefully, maybe get your question answered earlier. Who knows? It's a crapshoot. I'm just winging it. All right, there we go. That's what it is. MK will be back tomorrow, Friday, September 19th, 11 a.m. Eastern, a remote episode. I believe Luke Thomas will be in Las Vegas on the road to call some XFC fights from Sin City there. So shout out to old LT in that regard. Long Island Luke will be in the house. We'll definitely hit up the latest headlines from Jake Tank to a few other things going on. I mean, it's not a great week for headlines. You got to say that. Not a great weekend for big time combat events. Could we just done Noche this weekend? Would that have hurt anybody's feelings? I mean, please, let's go. Let's plan ahead for that a little bit better. All right. Brody Moret straight out of Canada, and he will eat that crow. He came here to do that after saying that there's no chance that Canelo could lose that. And now he's just blaming Richard Schaefer, which now seemingly everyone is. I mean, you see that's who the blame is pointed at for all the fight week, according to Front Row Brian, the Oracle's Twitter, for all the fight week shenanigans, the arguments between Team Canelo apparently and Dana White and Turkey. I don't know. I mean, did it feel like there was drama going on there? Yeah, there did. But you know what the good news is? They got to the finish line. Sully Sullenberger landed the plane. And as we'll talk about that main event, man, for as long as it took to get there that day alone, that main event freaking delivered. Whether you think boxing's boring as heck or not, we saw history, we saw greatness, we saw a lot of pageantry as well. And very, very, I mean, I'm still buzzing off it. My wife would tell you that it takes a week for me to recover from these Vegas trips from the standpoint of being a functional adult. And, I have to say at age 47, she's not that far off. Me being 47, her being 46, but she's, she didn't want me to tell you that. 39 forever or whatever those women think these days. But we need those women. Okay, we do. Thank you very much for that. All right. Joe from Rum Dem Cheeks is always here. Did I ask Dana about Tachi Palace? No. But the funny thing is, it did come up in my mind while I was interviewing him, and I don't think that'll be the last time I interview Dana on camera in this new partnership between Paramount, CBS, and UFC that, of course, begins in January with UFC coverage for 7 years. A lot of rumors that TKO has still yet to announce who will be the rights holder for Zuffa Boxing. Could that be Paramount? I mean, you hear those rumors. We'll all find out together, apparently. But I'm going to ask him about that. You better believe it. Okay, I can't ask him everything I want to, but I can do a few things. All right. So hello to Devaney's. He's here for the first time, probably. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Monzo, quickly here. Are they really charging $49 on pay-per-view for the last Danny Garcia fight ever? They are. That's a bold move, but they're doing it. Okay. I believe that's October 18th, Barclays Center. I love me some Danny Swift Garcia. So I think I'm on the call for that one. So tune in for that. I think you got to go to the millions.co app and buy. I mean, look, whatever. All right. Whatever. I like boxing. Okay. I like to be inside the box. Speaking of that, hopefully you checked out yesterday's fantastic 2+ hour episode of Inside the Box as we let Rafe cook, talking all things Canelo, Crawford, Inoue, MJ, RIP Ricky Hatton. We had a lot of topics to get through. So check that out, because there ain't nothing like a pedal in a rainstorm. I think Ryan Adams said that one time. But Jay Fish will tell you, ain't nothing like some afternoon coffee and BC Ramble. So I didn't do the coffee bit today. Dude, the thing is, when you get old, you start doing old people things. I just fell into green tea lately. All right. My wife's like, you have become an old POS. And wife, you're right. So I rocked out to a little green tea action. Thank you. So I'm ready. Lazar is back. Oh, yeah, he's still here. Okay, there we go. Those are our people here. It's spring down under right there. I know you guys do things the opposite way. Okay, you guys probably stand to wipe, just like Luke Thomas. But all of our friends are here. My boy Jay, not Aaron, right? We're hoping this Jay Allen and Project Zeb as well. We're gonna get into a lot of your boxeo questions and more. All that and then some, tall, pale, and handsome, as Brody checks the weather out there in Toronto. Brody, Nav Bhatia, Toronto Raptors superfan by any chance, from Mississauga? Remember that dude? The guy is wild. The guy that sits in the front row? Yeah, all right, maybe not. Thank you, Harden, of Central New York fame. Yes, septic tank. That's what got emptied today. Luckily, I didn't have to talk to that man or deal with it at all. But yeah, the backyard smells. The dogs are rolling around in the grass. It's gross. It's really gross. But there we go. There it is. Whoomp. There it is. Nothing really else to report on the BCX this week. I mean, we're holding the channel together as best we can, right? MacGyver style. Will it break down? Will it fall apart? I don't know. But let's just enjoy it while we have it. Smoke them if you got them. 2-drink minimum. Tip your waitresses. And please, if you are middle-aged like myself, and you have the access to the coffee pot, like that man said, ain't nothing like a afternoon coffee for a working man. Okay, so there you go. There it is. Great stuff. All right. We should probably get into it, right? Do I have any other things to say? Morningcombat.shop, all that great stuff. The proceeds go to me, Long Island Luke and LT. I mean, you can look great in something. Oh, shout out to my boy Chris J from Contenders Clothing, who really hooked me up this past week in Vegas with Anchorman, Rocky, Halloween, all these great movie gimmicks here. I love Contenders Clothing, so support them. Check that out. I'm not sponsored by them. I just own half my wardrobe is them. So shout it out right there. And Harden, you're not wrong here, brother. Okay, or Harden DR, right? You're not wrong here, big man. 1 a.m. main event times are criminal for East Coast middle-aged men like us. And I know if you're from the UK or something, you're like, bro, welcome to my world. I don't want to live in your world. Okay, I love to visit your world, but I don't want to live there. One day, right? The dream, the California dream. One day I'll live on the West Coast. I'll get breakfast in the NFL together. You know what I'm saying? I'll watch big time fights in the evening and maybe even do something afterwards, right? Maybe no. All right. There we go. Thank you. There we go. All the friends are here. It's really a group opportunity for us to all be weird together and not judge each other much, right? So there we go with that one. And already these guys just ringing the bell on the super chat. My boy, is that Lazar? I mean, My man Nikolovsky over here, right? That's what I'm talking about there. Thank you for those Australian pebbles. Appreciate that. Goes a long way. All good. All good. All right. Man, I'm already starring these great questions. I might as well just get into it. I might as well just turn the corner here. All right. Oh, there he is. I was waiting for him. Where's Big Papa? Key Papa in the house right here. Not Kawhi. He's over there in Maui. Hopefully he's avoided Governor Penn on his 5th arrest of this calendar year. Come on, BJ. Or maybe come on, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Can you save him, please? All right. When you're done dropping some of these words from Hulk Hogan over there. Man, I love me some. I mean, 2 of my favorite heroes are abject racist. All right, there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Finally here from Nosita. Is that the green tea that we got in the mail? No. But we did get a lovely MK fan over there at Cannabis Espresso sent us some gimmick tea, and wow. Yeah, wow, right? Wow. Loved it. Thank you very much. Okay. There it is. All right. Sandine's here as well. I guess this is what we're just going to do. We're just going to say hi to everybody. All right, let's get into it. All right. All of our favorite. Oh, Lazy Bed. Yeah. Look, all the Just Bleed guys. I'm ready to go on Just Bleed Radio. All right. I got to email Lazy Bed back. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Okay. Let's go. Let's fucking go. All right. Let's do this thing. Great. Also, if you missed it yesterday, I appeared live on Submission Radio with my man Dennis Shukurov, my favorite Ukrainian Australian, however you say his last name. Him, me, and the one and only Long Island Luke. So it was a little bit of a precursor potentially, because I don't know if you guys have been watching the Cinderella run that I'm making to the finals of the prop quiz over there on the main card minute. I mean, should I have beaten Luke Thomas head to head in trivia? Should I have taken Mike Heck's soul in the manner that I did? That's up to you to decide. But apparently on the other half of the bracket, it's Shaquille Majori, or Maljudi, as they say in Vancouver, and one Australian Dennis. So, that $100 prize at the end of the day, man, I can get a lot of Delta 8 gimmicks with that. All right, there we go. BCX still here until it dies, but thank you so much. Okay. No, we can't cancel the BC Ramble. All right, we're gonna have to keep those Jimmy Kimmel comments on Patreon, apparently, right? Or get our passports taken away. That's it. That's all the politics we can handle for today. Let's do it. Jay Fish is back with it. Hold on. Damn, BC knows Navbatia and Mississauga. Sorry, I wasn't. Yeah, thank you. I actually, when I used to work at ESPN, we used to rock out every night, turning on the Raptors games, be like, where's Nav? We got to see, because this guy goes sick. Somebody, Vince Carter dunks it. This guy's like dancing around and stuff. Then I went to the Basketball Hall of Fame over there in Springfield, Mass. a couple of years ago, and they have like a rotating main exhibit. And for that month or summer or whatever it was, they had an exhibit to the greatest fans in NBA history, and Nav had his own display with these like Nike hoop shoes with like his face on the back. I'm like, dude, Nav, you made it, brother, right? I got to meet that guy one day. A lot of passion in that used car salesman, a lot of passion. He may even sell brand new cars too. I don't know. You have to check out Mississauga to maybe I'll see if Bronstetter's wife drives one of Nav's minivans, but more to come on that. All right, top story of the day. I'm still feeling it from no, not from that tea anymore. The tea that Nosito was talking about. No, I'm still feeling it from should we call it Crawford Canelo now? Should we switch that up because of what Bud did? I mean, it was beautiful. And it is weird to me, not that I'm shocked, but it is weird to me to see so many MMA pundits and fans be like, hey, boxing old ass boring weirdos. If you enjoyed that, then I guess I'll never enjoy boxing, because that was shit. No, it was beautiful what we saw on Saturday. The greatness of Terence Crawford, I don't think can be oversaid right now, as we are comparing him to Floyd Mayweather. I mean, they don't really compare it in terms of resume, and that's obviously a credit to the 50-0 Floyd. But from a head-to-head, it's an interesting. Rafe and I did that yesterday. It's an interesting conversation by the backyard fire pit. Not preferably the same day that the poop guy came in there and yeah, there you go. The septic taker, the underground septic taker. And I was like peeping through the window at the guy. He had like this massive 10-foot stick. And as he's sucking the poop out, he's got the stick. I mean, that guy's, I don't know. And he had one of those Tom Gugliotta, Pam Anderson barbed wire, bicep tats, and so I'm like, you definitely got that in 1997 and you definitely regret it, sir. Okay, there we go. There it is. man, you almost need somebody to start the good questions while this is going on. Okay. There it is. There it is. All right. All right. Yeah. There it is. Okay. Okay. Let's go now, right? Let's go. So I wanted to say one thing about Terence Crawford's greatness in particular. I mean, it's not just like how brilliant this whole 2 years was for him. As we criticized him for not necessarily capitalizing on the commercial opportunity that came with that breakthrough win over Errol Spence, where suddenly the week after that, he's on all the morning shows, all the late night shows, and he's like this star suddenly, and then he doesn't fight for a year, and then fights a guy no one's heard of in Madrimov on this weird Turkey LA card, and then doesn't fight for another year. But the thing about Terence's entire career is he moves to the beat of his own drum. And it's now that he's accomplished what he has, it's really sort of admirable in a lot of ways. Meaning, this turned out to be just another fight for Canelo, not just another from the standpoint of the Netflix, Allegiant Stadium, UFC, Turkey. Like there's a lot of extra things going on around this fight. But for Bud, the fact that he stuck firmly to the idea, especially in the last year, of I'm either going to fight Canelo or I'm going to retire, really allowed him to focus on building his body up to 168 pounds over a 2-year period, essentially. So it wasn't the Jermell Charlo bit where I'm just going to kind of not really build up my body, move up 2 weight classes, roll the dice against Canelo. If I get knocked down early, I'm not going to try the rest of the way. I mean, that's kind of unfortunately, I love Jermell, but that's what it felt like. Crawford did it the exact opposite way, the right way. And then when you really take into account how much him and Bomac studied, the value of the family-sized Cheeto bag, well, at least one of them studied that, but how much they studied every inch of Canelo because you saw that on fight night. And I still almost take offense when people are like, it was full domination. How could it even be remotely that close? I mean, I know I was there, but I also, to be fair, was watching on the big screen. From my vantage point, the fighters were about that big. But I'm going to end up watching it again tonight and once more tomorrow morning before MK tomorrow because I really want to get a handle on this. I know Luke's probably already watched it at least 48 and a half times. What if he could finish that last one? He'll be catching up to Volkanovski Holloway 2 levels here. But Canelo, he was game. He got in great shape. He gave you the very best of what he had left at 35. And the fact that Bud was one step ahead of him in every category, at every moment, at every level, fielded felt that rally that Canelo had in the middle rounds, never buckled, never capitulated, just kept adapting. And then when it was time, stood in there and banged. That's a real testament to the work they put in physically and mentally over 2 years. You don't see that often. Rare scenario, obviously, where he's at this point in the twilight of his career in his late 30s where he still got it. And it is rare that it's weird with, like the great ones, inactivity doesn't matter, right? Because they're so great and they're going to do the work. He did the work. It's seemingly on every single level. And if he didn't, look, Canelo was not that far away from backdooring a split decision win. I mean, he was 7-5 on 2 scorecards. I had it 8-4. Would that have been great for boxing had one of those rounds been closer for a Canelo round and suddenly Canelo wins a split decision? No. Or a draw even? No. It would have been bad for boxing. The thing is with the 10-9 scoring over, the 10-9 system over 12 rounds, which is not a perfect system, never has been, the whole idea that you can score the same score for a round in which it's dead close, but you have to pick a winner, or someone dominates, not to the domination level of a 10-8, but someone dominates. That's always going to F with your interpretation where you're going to go, well, my eyes told me that Crawford kicked his ass. It's very similar to the fight that I still get a lot of heck for, which was Keith Thurman versus Manny Pacquiao in 2019, where Glenn Feldman of Avon, Connecticut, and your boy BC here of suburban Connecticut both had it 115, 113 for Thurman. Not because we thought he fought better in the big moments, but because he won more rounds, and that's what the game is. So when I say it was close, I mean more it was competitive. I mean more that Canelo was in each round and was in the fight. Bud got the better of him, but whether you get the better of somebody or not, you still have to win 7 rounds if there's no knockdowns to win it. So I'm happy ultimately that there was no chicanery in this. That was the best gift we got. There was a little bit of chicanery in the card, the matchmaking, the pacing. There was a lot of BS floating around, but for that main event to just deliver the way it did, and for Bud, it's such a, I mean, I was so high on greatness and history and being there and seeing that. And I wish everybody could experience that. And you know, that atmosphere in the arena, I can't necessarily compare it to where I was literally in the fourth or fifth row for Mayweather Pacquiao, Mayweather Canelo, even Mayweather McGregor, which I was set back because by that point in Vegas they started to push the media back. But it was just a magical night altogether. But to sort of close the show on what I'm talking about here about Bud Crawford's the uniqueness of his greatness, there's a quality that he has that is hard to carry on, hard to execute, but I really wish it's relatable. It's you know, I really wish I had more of it. I wish a lot of us did. The fact that as we waited out the multi-year build to Crawford Spence, and this whole idea that, like, is this fight going to be another Mayweather Pacquiao? Is it even going to happen? And the fact that every step along the way, as Bud was on the other side of the street and seemed unable to be able to get that, or at least unable to get that fight in what we thought was his prime. Who would have thought that Bud from 35 to 38 would actually be doing the best work of his career? But at that point, you know, we're like, damn, they're going to be like 34 and 35 when they fight each other. It's going to be May Pack all over again. But the fact that Bud maintained the whole time that, look, I want this fight. I've been wanting this fight. Like, I can't do anything more than tell you that, tell my promoter that. I've told Spence that. But if it doesn't happen, I'm fine with that. And I remember when he used to say that, that used to piss me off. Like, dude, you are great. At least at that point, like, he looked great, but you're never going to truly know how great he is unless he's matched up against other great fighters. And there's this thing like, dude, you only get one go around at this. How could you say that? Like, you should almost be whoring yourself out to get the fight. You should almost be tracking out him and down and knocking on the door and being like, what do I have to do? And the fact that Bud believed so much in himself and was content with what he has control over and what he doesn't might ultimately be his superpower, might ultimately be the reason why he's so disciplined and the reason why he has such an iron belief in himself, because most guys would never even attempt to do what he just did in a 2-year span, go from welterweight to super middleweight, 2 weeks shy of 38, take on another all-time great in this division, in which Canelo's 11-0, 2 times undisputed, right? And do what he did. Most guys wouldn't even put themselves in a position to do that, not just because they want to protect their unbeaten record, but because of, like, just the general risk involved. So the fact that he never doubted that he could, but yet never got desperate in chasing it and was always said, look, God's got a plan for me. I trust it. Whether I get, and this, now we're talking about the Spence fight again. He used to always say, whether I get that Spence fight or not, I'm going to be okay. If I retire without fighting Errol Spence, I'm going to be okay. And that used to piss me off as a fan and journalist that wants more for him. But now I think I sort of get it. Oftentimes, we aggressively chase shit in our life that may not be for us, or may not be for us right now, or may not be for us when we have a desperate mindset of like, man, I deserve that. Why is that not here? That can create, I mean, there's this thing called long suffering. And I used to look at, you know, and a lot of times when people say BC, like, you know, I'm a late bloomer in my career. There's no question about it. But, you know, but people are like, what's the secret, you know, to you being where you are now? How do I model that? And it's like, damn, you know, no one's journey is the same in terms of your career. It's really hard to follow that, especially with the way that the business changes so often. But I always bring up the word long suffering, and I usually mean it, unfortunately, from the standpoint of like, how much disappointment and uncertainty can you carry on your shoulders? And that's a flawed way of looking at it. Like, it still could get you to that finish line, meaning like, I didn't quit because I'm long suffering, but there's a different way to carry that uncertainty and that pressure and all that stuff, meaning you don't actually have to carry it, right? When I say long suffering, I usually mean, well, you got to be prepared that it's not going to happen in the timeline you want, but that you got to hold firm in your belief that it ultimately will. But look at the way Bud came to terms with these opportunities. Look at when it looked like the Spence fight was at the front door at the end of 2022. Do you remember that? The fall of 2022 when we were like, we're finally going to get this fight. And then we didn't for a couple of reasons. One, Bud found out about that offer to fight Avaneson with BLK Prime, where, somebody had raised a bunch of millions and was ready to throw it at him. B, Bud didn't love what he was getting back from Al Heyman at that time. He wasn't getting the breakdown of where all the money's going, the transparency of it. He wasn't getting the guarantee that he felt he should have got. And I think on top of that, Bud stood firm, 10 toes down, stood on business, as the kids say, from the idea that I want this fight, but I'm not going to take this fight on desperate terms. I'm not going to just throw myself at PBC and just, and do it all exclusively on Errol's and PBC's terms. We wanted that as fans and journalists. I criticized the hell out of Bud at the end of 2022 going like, dude, what are you doing? The fight is here. Take the fight. You're going to be like 35 tomorrow. Take the fight. But yet, like, Bud was content that if it didn't happen, it goes back to that saying you hear a lot, and Bud says it himself too, that like not all money is good money or whatever that one is, but it's like he was content that if it wasn't going to happen the way he felt it was supposed to be, then it wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, I know I'm getting a little Tony Robbins on you, or I'm getting a little, your spiritual buddy over here, BC, but I don't know, man. I just kind of thought about that the other day, and it just hit me. Seeing how humble Bud was in victory, seeing so many turns when we painted him the villain at times because he wasn't super marketable, or you hear Bob Arum saying this or that about him. But the whole time, Bud stayed the course. He believed in what was under the hood. He believed in his path, in his destiny, and his fate, his spiritual growth, journey, however you want to frame it. And look where he is now. Look where the fuck Bud is right now. Right? Right? Do you know how many times I try to will stuff to happening in my career and it goes nowhere? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how many times we all do that? But yet Bud, for 2 years, and for a year of that, not even knowing if he's going to get the Canelo fight, didn't stop working toward it, didn't stop rebuilding his body, didn't stop going through all the studying with Bomax so that they had Canelo mastered. That if the opportunity became ready, he was already ready. Yeah, there's something in there. Bud's a special dude. And I do wonder if that whole romantic soliloquy that I just provided to you is really, I mean, look, Bud's got to also be a one-on-one, and he seems to be, right? But I wonder if that is the undocumented superpower in why he's able to do this and make it look so effortless, even though there's certainly a hell of a lot of effort put in. I mean, belief is a superpower. And obviously there's a line between, I mean, you do have to, we always say this about fighters, you have to have like obnoxious self-belief, non-realistic self-belief to be able to constantly get up off the canvas, reinvent yourself, bounce back from a loss. And we need that in life too. But, you can go too far in that. There's a firm, like anything else, there's a balance and there's a firm middle ground in saying, I'm not going to adhere to the expectations of others, of society, of the world around me. I believe there's greatness inside of all of us, but I believe so few of us even come close to unlocking that. Even myself, I've done some really cool things. I'm really proud of where my career's at. All good. It looks great at a high school reunion to shake somebody's hand. I mean, like, it's all good, right? The aunts and uncles love it. But it's like, I also look in the mirror and go, how much more am I leaving on the table with some broken mentalities? All right. So that's what I got for Bud's greatness. I mean, physically brilliant, but mentally, this guy's a strawweight valedictorian. No, that's BC. That's BC. Yeah, you're damn right. No, this guy's something special right there. Okay. That's what it is. All right. Great stuff. Okay. Christian G is in the house. Great stuff right there. Let's go. We're going to have more tomorrow on MK about the fallout of Crawford Canelo, the ratings. Should we see a rematch? Is this Benavidez idea absurd, or is Bud so great that it's possible? We'll get into all that. There it is. Thank you very much. All right. 2 Chainz. Well, quickly here, 2 Chainz. Floyd has better reigns over basically every weight class. Yeah, no doubt. In the amount of names, it's not comparable. From the highest, meaning the amount of Hall of Famers you defeated, to guys that were close enough to their prime. Obviously, with Floyd, you're always going to have that critical eye of the timing of when he fought the guys, the circumstances, but I do think that fades as the years go on. I told Floyd that himself during that infamous Versace robe, incident with Showtime where I sort of set him up to dunk on me, and boy, did he, for content purposes. And I told him honestly, straight up, all this shit we wrote about you and said about you, we're not going to say in 20, 30 years. You will age like a fine wine. But shout out to Bud being so great when he finally got the chance that we're actually having these type of discussions of like, okay, he didn't out accomplish Floyd. But that's the question. That's the argument. Man, that's what it is. Harden, thank you, brother. Maybe I should get on multiple. Yeah, municipal sewer. Yeah, we've been trying to get the town to up to put sewers in the damn streets because every time they put in a new house at the end of the dirt road, everybody's yard floods. The good news is they just voted 2 weeks ago to put in sewers. The bad news is the the 4 empty lots that abut my property are now all going to get filled and houses are going to be built because of that. So, there's a good and bad, a cause and an effect in everything. But yeah, there we go. Quick shout out here to LT from Rory Fisher. LT's tape study of the fight was fantastic. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, but I believe in LT's breakdown game, and the guy's got an eye for this stuff. And I give LT a lot of credit. When MK started, I mean, he got thrown into high level boxing coverage. He got opportunities at Showtime that, he'll tell you himself, like, you could argue if his resume had deserved it, but like I never doubted that he couldn't pull it off. And to his credit, he jumped right in and did exactly that. So shout out to LT. Are we still on this Floyd talk? Let's do it. Two Chenks. Floyd better reign at 135, 40, 47, 54. Also won a title at 130. True. Only weight classes Crawford had a better reign is at 68 because Floyd did. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It was who was available. It also was, Floyd was great and became the money man. So a lot of things going on there. Would Bud, if he had his chance to do it once he moved up to welterweight, if he had access to the PBC stable, would he have? First of all, Bud should have fought Pacquiao. It only didn't happen, I think, because Bud didn't have the marketability at that point. Pacquiao knew it. He knew that Bud was great. The risk reward wasn't there. But imagine if Crawford, while still, I think Crawford was 30 when he moved to welterweight finally, which was his third division. Imagine if he had a chance to fight Thurman, Porter, Ugas, you add all the names, Danny Garcia, add all the names, Spence earlier, right? Spence 2-3 times maybe. We could be talking about a different career. Are we still talking about a 10-foot poop stick B? Yeah. Indestructible Octo Man. I mean, I don't know if he cleans off that 10-foot poop stick or just throws in the back of his truck. But either way, you know what I mean? Either way. Brody's still on this beat. Floyd's ego versus Bud's competitiveness. That man is filled with spite and darkness. Well, I don't know about darkness, but there's a backbone in there. There's a there's a killer instinct. There is an absolute killer instinct. And Ray Leonard had it. Ray Leonard had more of that. I mean, he had that darkness too, especially when you find out the things, unfortunately, of Ray Leonard's youth that he revealed in his book about the sexual abuse he encountered from a coach when he was young, that sort of, in some ways, propelled him to fight that hard. But along with having a backbone, Ray had that go get it in him. You saw that in the first Hearns fight, and Bud has that. We saw that in the Porter fight when they told him he was down. We saw that in the Gamboa fight. We saw that even in the Benavidez fight, even though he was winning that one pretty handily. Bud scored some late knockouts, which tell you that he's got that in him to go after it. All right, there it is. I'm not going to accept this type of slander, Brody. I told you guys Triple G was trash. He couldn't do to Canelo what Bud did. Brother, Triple G was like, what, 35 by the time he was able to fight Canelo? Like Bud's a different fighter, but let's please not pull this shit. I saw Triple G beat Canelo twice. I know a lot of you don't believe that, he won the rematch, and the rematch is very close. If you had it a draw, if you had it Canelo by a round, you're probably not crazy, but please let's not besmirch the greatness of one Gennady Golovkin. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. All right. A lot of great questions coming in here. Let's get to my second topic. Then I'll completely open the floor up to you dancers. All right. There it is. Oh, God. Brody's accusing people of PED use in here. This is a crazy chat. All right. Yeah, you're right, Luke Back. Luke Backman knows a little bit about the box for a youngster here. All the credit, Luke says, to Bud, of course, but props to Bomac, good old Brian McIntyre, as well. Incredible game plan from moving around to finding times to trade to staying southpaw. Masterpiece by them. Yeah, you never quite know how much credit to give the trainer. Trainers can become overrated even when they're really not, just because they can't duplicate the success of the one big client they had. Everyone goes through that, even Freddie Roach, right? Remember when he was the hottest trainer ever, Pacquiao Khan, and everyone's calling him up. It's hard to sustain all of that and look great. Look at somebody like Virgil Hunter, who was the perfect trainer and father figure for Andre Ward. They went together perfectly, okay? Like Tango and Cash, like peanut butter and jelly, like Brundage and ABC Nation, right? Okay, get a little weird here. But yet Virgil really couldn't reproduce that with anybody else, and that's just what it was. But yeah, Bomac has other clients. He's a really smart dude. He's now working with Chris Eubank Jr. again. Hopefully he can stay out of the UK prison system. I mean, I'm not telling a man to pack heat or not. That's his decision. But yeah, thank you. All right. Second topic here. The damn White House. I'm kind of getting, when they first announced this possibility, I was like, man, we don't need this BS. What are we doing here? I mean, Turkey's trying to go to Alcatraz. Dana's going to take Trump's suggestion for the White House. It's going to be cringe. There's going to be a lot of Colby Covington on my screen. But I have to say, the more that this is starting to come together, moving it off of July 4th to the end of June, Dana repeatedly saying this will air live on CBS. Now, look, they've already taken away pay-per-view in the Paramount era, but to go straight to live on CBS, now you have to start to ask yourself, is this card going to be a gimmick card like the Sphere? And I'm not here to shit on the Sphere. The Sphere was, I wasn't there. I was down the road at the Canelo fight at that time, but it was unique. It was a huge gamble. Dana really wanted that on his career resume. He wanted to win an Emmy too. They needed Turkey's money. I didn't think they matched the card equal to how unique that one event was. Still, you got 2 title fights on there, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. And I just wonder if we'll look back at that as a gimmick card, right? Not every numbered card bangs. 100 banged. 200 should have banged. It didn't, right? 300 kind of banged. Yeah, we will look at that as a milestone card that also delivered. A lot of that is Max versus Gaethje, but you had a lot of other things going on. I'm just wondering in a weird way, especially since, I ain't no UFC hater. I ain't. I'm part of the team, baby. I wonder if this has the opportunity to really stand out and be unique. If they load it up, which they should, if it has a mixture of, McGregor Diaz 3 type of old school history to bring in the casuals, and hey, these are the guys that are next, or this is the matchup of the moment. But, good old Dennis Shukratov, is that how we're saying his name, or are we just all a-holes over here? I don't know. Dennis had me on a sub radio, as I mentioned yesterday. He did ask a question related to, Dana saying Jon Jones, we can't trust him, but I could trust Connor. It's really Connor of 2015 or Connor of the last 376 consecutive days, right? It's your choice right there. I've been starting to think about it as LIL. Dennis and myself yesterday were riffing on, what should be the main event, what could be the main event. And I think there were times in the past that I said, look, I don't think you necessarily need an American fighter in the main event, but what I really just need is a bad ass fight, because ultimately I don't want this to be a gimmick fight card, because if they do this right, this is super unique. This is, this ain't Cotto Foreman at Yankee Stadium, which is pretty damn unique. This ain't, shout out to Ring City, USA, when we went to weird places like the town square in Old San Juan looking at the ocean with the castle in the background. That was pretty unique. But if they do this right, this could really be a where were you when this card happened? This could end up being the most monumental card in their history if they do it right. But part of my thinking even up to yesterday was like, okay, but we're at a low point in American star power at the moment. We only have one American champion. Even some of our other American risers like Fluffy Hernandez are having setbacks. So I was like, if it comes down to it, just do Islam Elia, the best fight you can make in this sport, and we'll be fine. And we'll load up a bunch of other Chandlers and Covingtons on the undercard and Stricklands. But I started thinking about it. You got to have an American in the main event, even with the issues we have now. And that American can't be Nate Diaz against Conor, because you can't put that fight. That fight's, it's necessary. It's big, but you can't main event that at this point, 2025. Just like you couldn't main event McGregor Chandler. Maybe 2 years ago you could have on the White House lawn. You can't now. Chandler's piled up losses. They need Jon Jones. They need Jon Jones. They need Jon Jones. He's not the American we want, but he might be the American we need. Like, right? They need Jon Jones. And if it's Aspinall for the heavyweight championship, that's the perfect storm. Not just because it's a rematch of 1776, right? Wow, that's something. Not just because of that, but that is. I wonder if there's still a chance that they can use all of the negativity of that fight not happening, all of the negativity of what Jones did, and all the fallout of that. And if all of that negativity can become a positive, if it leads to that fight at that time. Now, I've been saying, look, I like that Dana saying, I'm not sure about Jon here. We can't trust him. You're right. You can't trust him. He fucked you over, and the division and Aspinall and everyone's reputation, made a mockery of it all. But I threw out that plan, have him kick off the Paramount era in a fight at heavyweight or whatever, have him earn it. And if it's not Aspinall, could it be Poatan? I guess it could be too. But the Aspinall part would make a lot of sense because it's the fight that almost didn't happen. Like we're on some Mayweather Pacquiao journey of, will it happen? What will this mean to the sport if it doesn't? I think we're kind of past the what will it mean if it doesn't, because Jon soiled it so bad. But is there still time to now reverse psychology Jon into doing exactly what they want, not for the same money? Yesterday's price will not be today's price for 30 million. That window was open and you closed it, Jon. All right. But I wonder if you really think about it, because I love Kayla Amanda, and I really do, but that can't headline this. And if we're not going to do Jon Aspinall or even Jon Poatan, who the hell's going to main event this? Is it going to be an American? Are there any Americans left? Right? Does that even matter? I mean, that's going to be up to you based on your own mileage, right? As Luke Thomas would probably paraphrase. I'm just starting to wonder if they will realize that they actually do need Jon. So maybe this is the right way to do it. Slow play him, because he keeps saying, I'm still training for it. I still want it. Obviously, Aspinall's got to get through Gon first. Maybe even Aspinall defends another time in like February or something, for all we know. Maybe that continues to build his star up, where we're like, you know what? We could be looking at the greatest heavyweight of all time, even though it's not even certain we would even have all of the information at that point about Aspinall that we need. Chin, wrestling. I mean, didn't Rico Verhoeven just take his ass down easy in that little sparring session? I don't know. But Jon used them, but now the tables have turned. They can use him. And I mean, do we really want to celebrate if Jon wins? I mean, if Jon wins this, yeah, we will celebrate him. And not just because he's American. And not everybody in this chat is American. You think Nazareth or whatever that guy's, Lazar, cares about Jon Jones? Probably not. But as much as Jon Jones doesn't deserve it, there's still this part of me, because he's the GOAT, he's the best we've ever seen, that still kind of wants him to finish the story. He doesn't deserve that, me to say that. But we are suckers for greatness. We are suckers for seeing the comeback, the road finished. A lot of people are going to hear this and be like, BC, shut the hell up. But I don't know. That's just me talking. All right. We got through my topics. All right. Also, yeah, Triple G is supposed to be making a comeback here at like 43. It seems ill-advised. I don't know if he's just hungry for turkey money. I hope he doesn't hurt himself. He's got an incredible chin. End of that discussion. I'm now going to open the floor up to all of you and try to actually follow these questions that are coming in. And Let's do it. All right. Let's talk about it. Whatever you want to talk about. Okay. As long as I can answer without getting fired or deported, I'm here for you. All right. There we go. There it is. Yeah, Brody. Let me say that to anyone in the back that hasn't heard it. As Brody would say, I agree with what you said, but yesterday, BC Spence wasn't washed. Crawford is just that damn good. And this is not a Crawford hatred. It's more out of respect for Spence because I followed his career. I mean, dude, I was there along the journey at all of those pay-per-view fights in the front row for most of them, at least, especially the, Porter one, Ugas, all that. It was hard for me to reconcile over the last 2 years what really happened in that fight. Yes, we saw greatness in Bud, but I really did come around to the idea of, while it's not Bud's fault, it's unfortunate that Spence was either no longer able to make 47, or, hey, he's 35, it caught up to him, or he actually was in 2 accidents in the last couple of years, including one where it's a miracle that he survived. This Canelo, and I remember the moment I realized this, oddly enough, was when that bell rang to end the 12th round, and I'm looking at my score, 8-4 Crawford, and for some reason, I didn't feel like they were going to screw him. And I typically always feel like someone's going to get screwed because I've seen this story before. I've scored many fights against Canelo. But it was in that moment that I was like, damn, even I missed how great Bud was until right now. And maybe when we look back, Bud really was just that much better. Because again, it wasn't as if Spence came out and fell over. He came out firing. He landed left hands, and Bud either took them or slipped them and beat the hell out of him. With that said, I'm kind of intrigued by this talk of Jermell Charlo versus Spence, former stablemates, getting after it. Maybe the winner fights the winner of Fundora Thurman. I don't know. I'm kind of into that. I got a soft spot for these aging PBC guys. All right, they've been there the majority of my career. Now it's the end of times for them. All right, that's that. Here we go. What do you got, two checks? Crawford really confused Spence the way he fought. Southpaw and throwing combos backwards. Yeah. He fought Southpaw versus Canelo, but didn't throw the dangerous 2-1-2 the way he did versus Spence. Yes, that is true. I think Canelo, is better than Spence. He's more accurate. He's going to have more power at 68 against him. But the fact that in both fights, did he go southpaw the entire time against Spence? If not, it was like he made that adjustment in the first round and never went back. But the fact that he went 12 full against Canelo from southpaw and never had to change, I mean, that's just, and it's like he was always a changer. He was always a switcher. But it wasn't this pronounced really until like the second half of his career, where it was guaranteed every fight he's going to do it. And the key part about it that I loved was that it's almost like baseball in a sense, where he'd set it up from the orthodox stance in a lot of these fights. But when he went to the bullpen and called in the lefty, the fight was over. It really was. And that's awesome. That's fantastic. All right. Brody, what if Crawford was actually a time traveler? Look at his baby pics. It looks like it's from the 30s. I just think there's this old school vibe around Bud. Like, I mean, sure, at this point, is he into probably some form of materialism, and he's got a bunch of classic cars souped up and all that? Sure, he's been making millions for years, but there is this sort of like old school charm, not just in the way he fights, not just in the way he carries himself, but he'll tell you himself, he's a regular dude from North Omaha who likes to hang out with his family and friends. You know what I mean? I can respect that. I can relate to that. So there you go. There it is. Sandine, what do you got for me? All right. I got the itchy nose today. BC should have to bring Luke Thomas as his date to the next high school reunion. Well, I'm definitely not going to my high school reunions. But yeah, Luke, well, we're basically editorially married at the hip. I think I'm coming up, or not. I think I am. My class will be 30 years next year. I graduated in 96. Noggy High, Greyhounds, baby. I always say this. I was one of those dudes when high school ended that didn't want high school to end, that almost wanted like a bonus year because, I could feel that was the end of the innocence. That was the end of the No real life pressure on me. I just go to school, jerk around, have fun, come home, play basketball, play video games, take a nap, wake up, dinner's on the table. I mean, it's a compared to now trying to juggle mortgage and relationships and family and all that and jobs, it was a lot easier. But I would have been, because I was that small town guy who loved when everybody came home from college, or in my 20s, everybody come back on Thanksgiving Eve. And I'm like, man, I can't wait for all these reunions. And then social media happened, then Facebook and MySpace and all that crap happened. And then you sort of realize, I'm not really all that excited to see these people. I see too much of them anyway. I mean, I think that killed reunions. Cause I remember when my parents had their 20th, 25th, 30th, it was like an event. It was like a prom, they went to a hall and it was like, they got a yearbook, or they got like a program from it. And now everyone's reunion these days is like, let's all meet at the same bar. It's like, okay, cool. There we go. There it is. Do you believe this, Harden, that Bud can beat Benavidez at 68? I mean, there is that possibility that Benavidez cutting down, if that were ever to happen, would negatively affect him, which was part of the reason I felt like Canelo was waiting Benavidez out. Like Canelo was saying, okay, go to 75. You know what I mean? Go fight Bivol or better BF. Eventually, we're going to meet here back at 68, and you're going to be physically compromised, because I don't think Canelo believed that Benavidez had the discipline that he ultimately is showing now, because he didn't have that at the beginning of his career. I don't actually know if Bud could do this, or even if it's a smart or horrible idea. I don't know. I mean, Canelo's, a middleweight masquerading as a super middleweight and light heavyweight because he's so sturdy, he's so thick, he's so accurate, all those things. But the thing about greatness is, and I always feel like we do want to see the limit of it. I mean, I was that guy for years saying, I don't know if it's advisable or not, but if Floyd goes up to middleweight and takes a belt, even against the right hand-picked, title holder who would be perfect for him to expose, like Roy did to John Ruiz, right? I mean, Roy's a smart dude. He didn't, even though there was talks about it, he didn't fight old Tyson or Holyfield or Lennox Lewis or Klitschko, right? He fought, even though there was a lot of schemes where somebody in Africa was trying to offer, $50 million for him to do it, but it didn't happen. You don't have to do it. Floyd didn't have to do it, and he didn't do it. And he's 50-0, and look at what he's done. Look at what he has. Forever he has this. You know what I'm saying? You do wonder. You want to see the limits of greatness, because on the road to finding out where that limit is, you find unbelievable moments we saw on Saturday night, but we're not the ones taking the damage, right? That's also true. There it is. All right. All right. Let's get into some of these. Trying to keep up here. What else we got? All right. Sometimes there's conversations between you folks. Sometimes there's a conversation going on in my head. It's wild, right? It's wild. A lot of talk about skinheads here. I mean, it was Bob Arum that called them skinheads, I'm just carrying on the tradition, right? I mean, I love MMA, you know that. But I'm a boxing guy, so MMA's, a bunch of skinheads watching other skinheads. You know what's going on here. Hey, Matt Hears is here. What's up, bro? Right back at you. Welcome to the party. All right. Yeah. I just want to dance, right? Great line. By the way, originally that it's funny because I paid a stupid amount for the Dazed and Confused VHS. My friends still make fun of me today because I was such a Dazed and Confused fan that I paid like $50 for a VHS copy of the movie with all of the deleted scenes edited back in. But all the deleted scenes were like horrible quality, so it was a debacle. But the original cut of Dazed and Confused, where the guy's in the back seat, the guy that gets beat up by Clint, that not neo-Nazi guy with the haircut. And the dude's like, I just want to dance. Originally he says, no, I'm just kidding. But they actually cut that line out, so it makes it look like this guy's just soft and weak and he's a tulip. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all right. There we go. All right. Okay, let's get into it here now. Okay. First of all, Lazar Nikolovsky. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. All right. Nobody has to super chat it, but will I grift your super chat? Yeah, apparently I will, right? No, we're all having a good time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Double hit. Double hit. What do you think of Tim Tszyu firing his manager? I think Tim Tszyu needs to shake up the whole damn thing. And even though I said it after the loss to Fundora the first time, or no, yeah, the Fundora the first time, I said, look, maybe it's time to just get your dad as your trainer. I don't actually think that would work. I think there's a reason why they've been estranged at times. I think since I was there calling the fight in Orlando when he fought Murtazaliev at the end of 2024, in which his dad, Tszyu, showed up at one of his fights for the first time since his pro debut. I think without question, that messed with Tim mentally, caused him to just fight with his hands down and his chin out, fight like a caveman, and he got the shit beat out of him. I think it's the same thing that almost cost him against Terrell Gaucher in Tim's U.S. debut in that fight in Minneapolis when he got dropped in the first round and then needed to settle down. He would tell me later that I went into Terminator mode too early. Look, I don't know if Tim Tszyu can resurrect this. It's 3 losses. All 3 of them, he took a crap load of damage. I mean, ideally, he would have never had gone through fighting 9 extra rounds with the cut that he did, blinding him against Fundora and taking all that punishment. Did he come back too quickly against a killer? And yeah, there's a lot of things that a lot of mistakes were made here. Okay. 3 losses in 4 fights, and they were particularly brutal. It may be too late. He may just not be that guy, whatever. But he's young enough, kind of still, what is he, 30, 31, that if he's going to do it, if he's going to make one last go of it, you gotta get a new trainer, possibly even a new, you got to just flip the script. Maybe it's move out of Australia. Maybe it's like we said on Inside the Box yesterday. Maybe it's like go grab a Robert Garcia or something and move to California and train there. You got to find the right fit for you, but you're going to need new environments. Some guys can go the distance with the same. Sergio Mora used to always tell me, the former 154 champion, that the secret to his success was having the same manager, same trainer, same cut man, same everything from start to finish. And I respect Sergio Mora. In fact, the night before his first fight with Danny Jacobs, Todd Grisham, myself, and Nigel Collins were walking around the streets in Brooklyn looking for a restaurant. And we walked into this Italian place and it looked like it was like all the seats were filled. So we were like, oh, Sergio Mora goes, hey guys, go over here, come sit at my table. And it was Sergio Mora taking out his entire team to dinner. It was his brother was there, his best friend, who's his handler, his manager, his cut man, his whatever, his trainer. And he had us sit in with him and bought us this extravagant dinner. And he was not like he was making millions in that fight. And I always respected a lot, and I still respect Sergio to this day and really love when I run into him. But on the flip side, some guys just need reinvention. Oscar De La Hoya needed that every couple years, or he needed to eventually keep swapping until he found Floyd Mayweather Sr. And it was somebody that spoke to him, that he believed you need that voice of the person that you're not going to bullshit. That's not going to take your bullshit. So I don't know if it's going to work for Tim, but I agree with this. You got to do it. It's drastic times. Call for drastic measures. Thank you. All right. Old man Dave, Jones versus Ngannou. God, that would be awesome. I don't know the specifics of Ngannou's PFL contract. This would only continue this new narrative, which might actually be accurate, that Ngannou's kind of effed PFL by the way he's handled himself, going for all that boxing payday, only fighting once. They couldn't get him to face off Fajeda in the cage that time. They couldn't get him to show up for PFL Africa. I mean, it's not my business. It's theirs, but excuse me. That was inappropriate. But imagine if, and it's not that I want Uncle H.E. to sit ringside at the White House. Good Lord. But if they got to call Uncle H.E. to make the finances work to make that fight happen, could you imagine that? It wouldn't even have to be for the title. Obviously, it would make it all a million times better if it was. Imagine, though, if that fight was a possibility for late June of next year, but UFC said, John, we're going to tell you something that only we know and you can't tell anybody else. What that information is that we can get Francis back. Okay? Well, what about the Dana-Francis relationship? I don't know. Somebody's going to have to soothe that over. Maybe they'll call in Nick Khan. Maybe the closer will come in and soothe that relationship too. But here's what we need you to do, Boney. You got to fight Aspinall in the first Paramount card. And if you win the championship from him, you can do the dance on the White House lawn against Ngannou. That's probably not going to happen for 15 reasons, but a boy can dream, can't he? Sandine, right? Just like you, the first time you paid for no, that's inappropriate. That is just inappropriate. Icarus, bring truth to me. How is the fight at the White House anything other than a gimmick? It's not even a fighting venue. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, what if it rains? But what if a few things here? It's gimmicky as hell. But if you match it right and it bangs, does the uniqueness allow it to potentially become one of those when people say, what's your favorite UFC card ever? Or what's the biggest UFC card ever? Or what's the most important UFC card ever? And we all have those knee-jerk answers. Some people will still say UFC 100. Some people will still, I'll still say UFC 205 and 217 the first 2 years of MSG after the sport had been finally unbanned in the state of New York. Everybody's got their answer. Why couldn't it be the White House? I'm also cheering for UFC to have a revival year, okay? Because I'm going to be on the ground with Paramount CBS, all right? I'm going to be a part of this machine. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Jay Allen wants Gable Stevenson versus Tom Aspinall. I think Gable will probably make his UFC debut on that card if he doesn't already earlier, right? I obviously have no idea where he's at in his development. He fought a cab driver in his first fight, but, congratulations. Big win there. You got Jon Jones in your corner. Let's see what that kid can do. I'm not going to do that Luke Thomas hedge bet. Isn't that guy a dirt hole? I mean, aren't we all dirt holes? Some in MMA a lot more than us, but whatever. De La Cruz, should Zuffa have a boxing show on the Friday before on the lawn? That'd be very interesting if they did that. Now, if we try to squeeze in Power Slap, I'm leaving the country. Thank you. But that would be very interesting if they made it a TKO weekend. Please don't put WWE on the lawn either. Good Lord. Yeah. All right. I'm behind on seeing all these. Apparently all these comments I'm posting are from like an hour ago. All right. Here we go. I'm trying to catch up. Here. All right. Let's go back to Luke Backman. Overall, BC, how would you rate the promotion for Canelo versus Crawford? I thought Fight Week was incredible and had a big fight feel, but prior, I felt it was lacking. Can't argue with 41 million viewers, though. I mean, I've talked about that on Inside the Box yesterday. We'll do it also tomorrow on MK. I'm not really sure what that 41 million means, right? It was like 23 million concurrent, which is not nothing. You know what I mean? It's not the 65 million that was Tyson Paul, but it's going to be really hard ever to recreate those type of Tyson Paul numbers because of the weird factor in that. I think ultimately it was a monster success. The gate was ridiculous, the third biggest in boxing history. The numbers are huge. The viewership, a lot that goes into that. It was the biggest boxing audience in Vegas history. I thought it could have been promoted actually better. And that doesn't mean that they didn't spend a lot of money, but I felt like you had those 3 press conferences early and they did help. I mean, when Bud pushed Canelo, there's some back. I mean, like they did help, but then there's this long gap where there's nothing really public about that main event for a long time. And it didn't help that you had 2 guys that aren't going to like sell a lot of trash talk or what have you, right? By the time Fight Week rolled around, you did get a very well done Netflix, 2-episode pre-fight documentary. You got your daily embeddeds from UFC, which I don't know. Part of me was like, it's really cool to see boxing given the UFC treatment. But then there's a part of us that's like, I'd like to see UFC do something a little bit different, if not better, right? I felt like for a lot of Fight Week, it didn't have the buzz that I expected, although I got to give credit to the Fontainebleau Hotel in Turkey for paying for a lot of the bells and whistles that they had in that hotel. Like that was Fight Central. Everywhere you walked around, there's ex-pro fighters, there's giveaways, there's giant ass statues of Canelo and Crawford. Like they did well on that. I'll give Turkey's Ambition credit, even though, they had like a public workout in the lobby there. They had 2 nights of, his underdog series where you could see prospects fighting each other. So if you stayed at that hotel and you went there, there was a lot going on. I just felt like it didn't have, look, there's been some elements of the Turkey experience that's been very grandeur, but also kind of hollow, corporate, right? That's fair to say, right? It wasn't until Friday that it really felt like a big fight week. And that's when all the Mexican fans came in. That's when the weigh-in was sold out. T-Mobile's rocking. they did that day very well. They did, and actually, I'll even give more credit here. Netflix PR and UFC PR did a really good job for the 2 days of Radio Row. They used their TKO partnerships, brought in WWE talent. They brought in, a lot of different retired champions, Hall of Famers, current fighters. It was a good mix of people to get you the kind of content you need. Unfortunately, I didn't have my team with me until Friday, so I kind of gave you guys a bare bones sort of Radio Row roundup there on the BCX. But Saturday, there were mistakes made. It was way too long. We talked about that, already this week. But I think the number actually could have been bigger. But it definitely wasn't a failure. And even if the numbers would have been good, if the fight would have sucked, it would have been a failure. If the fight would have had boxing shenanigans attached to it, like Canelo winning a split decision he didn't deserve, it would have been a failure. All in all, I think they really built a strong foundation to build off of. But some changes need to be made, formatting, all of that. I mean, I really think these Netflix main cards should be shorter. I think it should be really high level matchmaking. You can't be rolling out prospects on here unless it's like the can't miss next biggest thing in boxing type thing. So there's things they can do, but the broadcast looked really good. I liked a lot of the talent that they picked. The arena inside was intoxicating once it finally filled up, which really was only like toward the end of the co-main event, unfortunately, but that is the late arriving sort of corporate, Vegas boxing crowd. I mean, it's 70,000 people, so you got more than corporate fans there, but still, it's weird. It's kind of felt like I remember Mayweather-Berto was the most corporate Vegas fight night I was ever at, where like nobody came until right before the main event. And I remember we were watching that co-main event for Mayweather-Berto was Rocky Martinez versus Orlando Salido 2. And it was one of the best fights I've ever seen in person. It was an absolute war. And nobody in the crowd was moving or saying anything or whatever. It's like they could have been a 4-rounder to kick it off. I think they need to do a little bit more. Can we get a face-off? Can we time things more in the build to the fight? Maybe not roll out the documentary series a week before. Maybe roll it out a little bit earlier. Maybe have more press type opportunities of big interviews where you're constantly updating the pre-fight narrative. You do need the right fighters for that though, too, right? I mean, luckily for this event, you had Canelo's name, and then you had the combined greatness of both in the performance from Bud. So it's a winner in the end. There you go. There you go. All right. Trying to star some of these. Let's go. I'm way behind. Let me update here. All right. All right. Keep talking amongst yourselves. Thank you very much. There we go. We're back. All right. Let's attack some of these super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. All right. As always, let's get through them. Oh, Alan W., where you been, bro? Great to have you back, Broski. All right. This guy won't show his face, though. Well, he's showing his face right there, right? And an international man of mystery, Al says, back from hiding. Wow, interesting. Okay. Bud versus Hearns. Okay, Bud versus all of these guys. Hearns, Ray Leonard, Shane Mosley, Pernell Whitaker at 47. All right. So peak Bud at 47 is the Spence fight. And who would have thought at 35 that would happen? But it's the way Bud took care of himself. Didn't take a lot of damage throughout his career. We know this story already. Tommy Hearns is going to be a problem. Not a problem Bud couldn't solve, but with that length, that jab, that speed, that footwork from an old school era where the guys were complete fighters. I mean, Tommy Hearns is a problem at 47, 54, 60. I mean, look at what Hagler had to do to get through him. Look at what Ray Leonard had to do in the first fight to beat him. And he's got more power than Bud. He's more dangerous than Bud. Bud also doesn't get hit. Bud can switch stances. I mean, that is a war of wars right there. That is a all-time great fight. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Tommy did have, there was a target. There was that one spot in the Death Star that you can get Tommy with, and Leonard found it. Hagler found it. I want to lean old school here, but the switch hitting side of Bud is just ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna go Tommy Hearns, but look. This is either or on this one. Okay, I can't pick against Ray Leonard here. against Floyd, against Bud. Now, look, the Ray Leonard versus Bud conversation is not too dissimilar from the Hearns versus Bud conversation. You know, Hearns is like the size, the length, the speed, all those things I said. Ray Leonard's just completely well-rounded and a brilliant ring IQ and just that clutch gene. He's a winner. Very much. There's a lot of mirroring images in this matchup. And it's not like Bud is freakishly taller, or like when we compare heavyweights where we're like, okay, the heavyweights of some era in the past may be better, but what are they going to do against 6'9" Tyson Fury, right? That's a different discussion. What's Rocky Marciano going to do against Tyson Fury? All right. I don't know if he's going to do that much against him. This is a different conversation. I'm going to go Leonard. But I'm a Leonard guy. That's my second favorite boxer of all time. All right. Prime Leonard, and it was probably perfect for boxing that Leonard came of age as Ali faded. He had some Ali in him. He really did. He had some of that, like, he'll find a way to win it. And the thing about Bud is, it's like, unfortunately, and that's the same thing that hurts Bud in the Floyd debate, is unfortunately the amount of evidence that we have at the very highest level is small. It's very confirming, though. It's very insanely awesome, because I do think Spence I don't think Spence will be remembered as a true all-time great, but I think when Spence was in his absolute prime, super special, would have been great in any era. Okay. And Bud washed him. I don't know. You know what, Alan? I don't know, dude. This is what's great about these type of things. Yeah, I'm taking Hearns and Leonard until I'm proven wrong. He beats Mosley, and Mosley was very good. Mosley's a Hall of Famer. Mosley at points in his career was great, but I think Mosley's short arms, lack of a jab, he in the boxer puncher combo, he was more puncher than boxer. Great across multiple divisions. Maybe the best lightweight I've ever seen in my time watching boxing. And that doesn't even take into account how great he was at welterweight and some of the big wins he had at 54. Bud's going to beat him, though. Purnell's tough, man. Purnell, Purnell can beat anybody on any given night, because we are talking about some of the best footwork we've ever seen. We are talking about elite speed. And like Floyd, one of the literal 3 or 4 greatest defensive fighters that ever. And he's a southpaw on top of that. But he doesn't have the same firepower as some of these guys. So I'm going to go Bud on that one as well. So give me history on Hearns and Leonard, although we're flipping a coin almost. I'm confident he beats Mosley. I'm actually kind of confident he could beat Purnell, but it would not be easy. Thank you very much for playing. All right. What do you got, Two Changs, the South Oregon bird himself? It sucks. Spence will be remembered as a good fighter that could have been all-time great, similar to Dallas legend Donald Curry. A great comparison in that regard. Yes. What would have happened if the accident didn't happen? What would have happened? A few things, really. Well, he should have gotten the Thurman fight. He didn't. It's not his fault. There should have been a little bit more in there as well. There really should have been. All right. Oh, Jay Allen, you're speaking it, man. Canelo Hearns at middleweight is one that you'd like to see. Hell yeah, that'd be great. I wonder, what do we think is Canelo's best weight? Is it actually 68 only because he carried his power up there with him? Or is the absolute best version of Canelo we ever saw the guy from the second Golovkin fight? It's his best win. I scored it against him, but it's a close enough fight. It's his best win. He was a man in that fight. I'm taking Hearns in this, and I'm not falling in line with people that are, and 60 wasn't even Hearns' best weight, but I'm not falling in line with people that are trying to retro downgrade Canelo's career because of this performance. No, Canelo's great. Canelo might actually he might actually be better all time than Chavez. Not in the hearts of the Mexicans, but all right. Thank you. Chavez was great. Chavez was really great. Okay. Great to see Alan back, okay? Hey, let's go over to this gentleman, Washcloth Gaming right there, all right? What are you cleaning up? Hey, thanks for contributing to this chat. Any thoughts on Bitches Brew by Miles Davis? Yes. Here's the crazy thing about it, and I did talk about it during my BCX video counting down my favorite album covers of all time, because there's a famous artist who did that album cover. He's done a bunch of other famous ones across different lanes of rock history, and it's such a unique album that it's almost different than any other in Miles's collection. It's almost different than any other in Jazz's, canon or jazz fusion, because in some ways you can say that was the album that sort of kicked off jazz fusion, although the On the Corner album right before that is more guitar driven jazz fusion than anything I've ever heard, and is one of the better Miles Davis albums altogether. Bitches Brew is just so experimental. It was a record, in the first 4 miles, where it's sort of like the art of it. Certainly it's in the recording, because let's not lie here. As great as Miles was, maybe even greater than his actual cool factor, skill set, and ability to essentially be ahead of the curve in music, as Miles, not so humbly would say himself, I've reinvented music 5 separate times in my career. But maybe even better than that is because of the total sum of those things, his reputation, his ability, his discernment, right? Like, he was an angry band leader. He demanded of you. He was able to recruit literal 1992 dream team, all-star teams of people. The people that played on Bitches Brew are like the greatest jazz players of the late 60s and 70s, right? But the genius of this record is in the production. How they took parts from different parts of the jam and blended them together. Not something that's never been done before. It's sort of a rare tactic. You think of Anthem of the Sun by Grateful Dead as one of the premier records where they did that. When they did that one to the extreme, they actually took live tracks and studio tracks and melded them together in such weird, almost off-putting ways that when you're deep in row 8 listening to Anthem of the Sun, in the tempo changes, the instruments change, and things are, it's meant to be a mind F, and it is. Bitches Brew is an ultimate mind fuck. It really is. And it's not always for me. I do say that about jazz and jazz fusion in general, that it's definitely mood music. I even feel that way about prog rock. I have to be in the right mood for it. I have to want to buy Radiohead as well. The true artists, the ones that are doing something on another abstract levels upon levels of genius, right? It's not just, three chords in a love song, right? There's something next level going on. The discipline is needed. It's necessary to be able to digest and fully understand and consume it. Bitches Brew is just another level of that, because it's so abstract, so all over the place. Yet when you feel like you're finally getting it, when you start to get in the groove, the brilliance is unmistakable. The amount, like OK, even though they're not really similar, like OK Computer by Radiohead, it's like every time you listen to that, you uncover in your ear hole something else that you didn't understand, especially when you put it under the good headphones, with the good record player. And right now I'm not rocking the good headphones. The good headphones broke. And I went cheap and bought some backup headphones, and they're just not on that level, and it's killing me. And Dad just needs to pull out some of his own allowance and step it up. I get that. I thought these headphones were going to be the one. They're not the one. Thank you very much. I'll say this, though, that I've probably only listened to my copy of Bitches Brew like 5 times. I know it's going to be an album that if I'm still doing the BCX on YouTube in 25 years, that I'm going to go, hey guys, I just fell back into this thing and uncovered it and listened to it, and it felt like I've never heard it before, because it is one of those records. But it's definitely one of those records when you think it's time and your how do you describe it? Your audio palette sometimes tells you not today. Can't handle it today. It's just so weird, and it's just so awesomely abstract in so many ways. So that's what you got going on there, Washcloth Gaming. The amount of names that are on that record are just literally a who's who. So that makes it kind of hard. I know that was a refreshing thing to me when I finally got into jazz fusion on such a deep level. Everybody plays on everybody's record, right? Jaco Pastorius, who was suddenly out of nowhere looked at as this profit on the bass. I mean, his debut album had Herbie Hancock knocking on the door to join in, had everybody. And that's just sort of the vibe of jazz fusion of the 70s. It's very much like a helpful, let's just experience this together, no ego thing. But Bitches Brew is literally everyone you've ever heard of playing, on the same track, and Miles and the producer just going, all right, we want this part with this part with this part. I mean, it's wild. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from Yo Mama 69. Thank you very much. Yo BC, I'm on my lunch break at work. Thank you for taking that break with me. Okay. What you think a Lamont Roach Pitbull Cruz fight would go, dude? I cannot wait for this fight. You hear that it could happen in December. I hear rumors that we could be getting a big PBC card in December, which means I might get the call. Call me, please. Will that be Pacquiao Rolly? Will it be Spence Charlo? I'm not sure how it's going to end up working out. But this fight needs to be. It's at 140 too, which is interesting. Roach couldn't get Tank because we got to do this Jake BS. So this is what we're going to do. The interesting thing is it's the second straight fight in which Roach is moving up in weight. He won that 130 title, and he rallied late, scored a knockdown in the final round, won the title. I worked that fight. I interviewed him in the ring afterwards, but I didn't think he was going to be a guy that, a couple fights later or in his next fight could move up and do what he did to Tank. No, Roach is coming on. He's coming out of his shell. He's showing us. Could he do that once more? I'm not worried about the weight because Pitbull's not even a 140 guy himself, to be very fair. Pitbull should be fighting at lightweight. I feel like, it's tough. It's tough. If the skills are even, I feel like Pitbull is a big name who can be vulnerably beat because he can kind of do it all. He can brawl. He's a better boxer than people give him credit for. Look at the Tank Davis fight. Although Tank was injured and it was a late opponent change, still took the fight. You still got to beat him. And he did. And it was close. And I know what he did to Rolly, but I do somewhat believe Rolly saying, look, like I should not have been at that weight class. I had no punch resistance. He didn't. We also saw Angel Fiedo, be in a brawl with him, maybe unnecessarily. We didn't need to from the Pitbull standpoint. We saw El Rayo Valenzuela outbox Pitbull. So I think this could continue the coming out party of Roach. I would favor Roach in this one. I would. He's got to prove he was as good as he was in that Tank fight. Was Tank a perfect storm fight for him because they knew each other, because he wasn't intimidated by Tank, because they grew up, they were amateur rivals, fought 3 times or what have you? I don't know. This is the fight to prove that. I love this fight. Thank you, Yo Mama. Talking about Yo Mama. All right. Thank you. Let's go back to Jay Fish with his Canadian loonies. Look at this guy coming in strong. All right. 69 dudes. Yeah, let's go. BC, you're in charge of booking the White House cards musical acts. Wow. Who you booking? One live artist and one dead one that you can revive for fight night. Now, am I trying to program this event to what I think the crowd wants, what I think the fighters want, or what I want? That's the interesting question right here. All right, it's UFC, so we got to rock. We got to rock. We're not bringing out STEM here, okay? All right, we're not. No one's gonna feel the pain unnecessarily. I mean, we had Metallica at that Triller fight one time. It was kind of cool. I don't know if it was necessary. It's also the White House, so it's got to be an American band, right? We don't want to go too old. We're not rolling out the Eagles here. We got to rock. We definitely need to rock. I mean, this is going to make me happy. It wouldn't happen because of the political divide. I don't know if you guys love this band like I do, but is there a more enduring American band who still has it than Pearl Jam? I mean, they're never going to show up at a Trump-led event, but could you imagine if they came out and rocked? Could you imagine, as Kevin G said, if we just booked the other half of Tool, right? I mean, who had a Tool drum solo with half the band on your Canelo Crawford bingo card? I'd love to find out who booked that. Is that a Dana thing? Is that a Dana thing that was like, okay, you're going to do your mariachi business. We're going to rock here. We're going to rock. Because, I'm sure Dana's seen a bunch of, like the whole idea of somebody coming out with a rapper singing them out has been the most overplayed thing. It's never overly entertaining. It's just sort of like, it just doesn't work, right? All right, maybe we need even heavier than Pearl Jam. I mean, Tool kind of fits that perfectly. Imagine if Tool came out and just rocked, but like, are they still kind of not, they're not a niche band, but in the genres that they've dominated, you know, alternative rock, metal, prog metal, is that niche-y? Kind of. Could it be okay, look, can we kind of meet in the middle here? Because you got to have a pop appeal to a set. How about the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Right? Right? Come on. Come on. What if the Red Hot Chili Peppers were the house band for the White House card? They're American, right? Or is it even too soft for the UFC to play like you know, Can't Stop, right? Which, you know, was a great walkout song for Vladimir Klitschko. It just kind of worked perfectly. Can we reunite the White Stripes? That'd be kind of the gnarly, hard, heavy sound. And the Dead Act. Well, I mean, am I allowed to bring back the Jimi Hendrix Experience? Because, you know, BC's going nuts for that. I mean, I don't think anybody there wants Dead and Company to come out besides me. So that's probably not the answer. I mean, you know, it would kind of work, but not at this age. So can I use my Dead one because they're to just say Guns N' Roses? Imagine prime Guns N' Roses coming out to be the house band for the White House UFC card. That kind of works. Right? Or Stone Temple Pilots. Or Rage Against. Okay, I got it. Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine. That's it. All right. Thank you. Thank you. God, please no Kid Rock. Did somebody just say Kid Rock? Somebody just said it, right? I mean, it probably would be. Anthony Kiedis loves Epstein Island. I don't know if we have proof of that. Bval 11. Great to have you back, Bval. You know it will be Kid Rock. Yuck. I mean, my dad will love that, and so will Dana. But nah, brah. Nah. All right, let's go to Ben Badge. He's back here, guys. Okay, we've been wondering what happened to this fella. Ben Badge is back at it. Badge, by the way, very good Cream song, right? Am I the only one that likes classic rock in this chat? Good Lord, okay. Thoughts on Ajit Kabayel and Hunter versus, what are we doing? Tag team boxing here versus Usyk or Moses Italma. All right. Are you talking about Michael Hunter? You know, I'm not necessarily a believer in Michael Hunter's heavyweight prospects moving forward. I think there were times at cruiser and heavy he had windows. So I don't like him against either of those guys. What do I like Ajit Kabayel? I don't know if I fully know how good Kabayel is. I'll give him a lot of credit because he's kind of like those fighters during COVID that became like UFC COVID stars because they just took advantage of opportunities and they kept winning, you know, from Hamzat to Billy Q to a few others. Kabayel was like the Riyadh Season hero who just kept showing up and winning these fights. And you're like, I never heard of this guy, but he can bang. Does he beat Usyk? No. Can he beat Moses Italma? No. That's probably the perfect test. I think we said this after Moses's last win, where he just blew through Dillian White, that if you're not going to do Usyk next, and there's certainly reasons not to, then Kabayel sort of is a perfect in-between to find out what we have with both guys. I'm going to favor Moses, but we really, if I'm going to say that we don't know all the answers about how good Kabayel is, we definitely don't know how good Moses is. That's actually kind of the perfect fight. Let's freaking go, okay? Two Chengs, what do you got? Remember when Rage Against the Machine pouted at the MTV Awards, LOL, and the drummer climbed the structure and wouldn't come down? Vaguely, I kind of vaguely remember that, but not really. Yeah. Bval, I can't wait to see what the future holds for Moses Italma. I hope we get to see someone challenge him. Yeah, I don't want to see him against Jermaine Franklin. I mean, we won't. Jermaine Franklin just shit the bed in that fight on the Crawford card, but yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, let's keep it going here. Great stuff from the people today. Let's go over to JFish 500. We just did that one. Thank you, sir. My bad. I got to learn how to work this. You don't like it, change your station. Okay, thank you. Larry C is in the house. Yeah, baby. BC, do you still keep in contact with the Silver King and handsome Nick Costos? RIP to the In This Corner and State of Combat podcast. Yeah, so those are the two gentlemen that I worked with at CBS Sports who were my original co-hosts on the In This Corner Pro Wrestling podcast on CBS Sports. When I left ESPN in 2017, left the Cheap Heat podcast with Peter Rosenberg and Stat Guy Greg, I started my own pod, and those were my guys. Soon enough, Nick left the company, and it was the Silver King and I for a long run. So the SK, the Adam Silverstein, he's still he's actually kind of like my boss now. He was my editor back then. Now he's kind of like one of my bosses at CBS Sports. I think he's like the managing editor or director of the website, of the editorial here. So I don't really watch wrestling anymore. So we don't really, talk in that regard, but we definitely talk for work purposes. Shout out to SK and Nick Costos. Always loved him. I felt like him and I always had that creative chemistry to play off skits and bits on there and do a little of our own sort of kayfabing on that show. He's a great talent. He has that You Better You Bet radio show / podcast. He created Wagertainment. He is a special talent, and I love ahead of the real big UFC fights when he has me on his betting show and we rekindle the magic. I've been meaning to get him on the BCX just to chat about just to chat. You know what I'm saying? I love that guy. If you guys don't know the handsome Nick Costos, that Greek legend, he's a fantastic gentleman. Thank you. All right, let's go over to Sydney Frankenstein, who's really, really becoming a regular in these parts. All right. Thank you for your support of this podcast, Sydney. As a wild joke teller, BC, I need to know your thoughts on what's okay or not okay to joke about publicly. Dude, it's the target's moving every day. All right. I mean, look, are there jokes that we make on MK that I'm like, in the wrong context could hurt me in a job, in my house, in a lot? Yeah, there is. There's chances that we take, we do it all for the nookie, right? So there's chances that we take for the sake of laughter and joy, or getting that edgy reaction that we probably shouldn't, slash a regular person would not know the history of that joke to even understand why it's kind of funny. So now you add in, what's been going on lately from the standpoint of, I mean, I really felt like, I was there at my end run at ESPN, when kind of cancel culture came around, but it didn't really affect me much because not only was I not doing things that could be cancelable, but like when I worked at ESPN, there were very stringent sort of rules of what you could say and couldn't say, and it was understood. It's been a little bit more liberal at CBS in general. But I don't know, man. You just never know. I mean, any landmine, any attempt you're going to make, I mean, have you seen this shit still alive 6 years later? I don't know. I really don't know. Right. Maybe nobody watches the show that deep. I mean, I got to tell you, when I did the CBS podcast for like 4 years in this corner, and then it became State of Combat when we got a cease and desist on the name. Yeah, I almost used to do it as a test to see who's listening. I just roll the dice, and it didn't really catch up to me, and that's cool. And it kind of became a part of the gimmick and part of the show. And I feel like we've been blessed at MK from the beginning. Just sort of said, it was easier when it started as a Showtime show to just sort of say, hey, there's kind of no rules. And I will say this, and I don't say this as an excuse, but like we were kind of encouraged to push the envelope. There were many times in the beginning where I'm like, okay, that's probably not going to work. And they're like, no, that's great. Keep it going. That doesn't absolve me, or, what I'm saying? That doesn't mean at any point a hater can't go clip up together old clips and couldn't get you in trouble again. It's a tough balance, man, because, I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. There's no greater joy in life. And maybe there's like built-in insecurities in me that fuel that, but there's no greater joy in life than feeling like you're a good hang for somebody and putting a smile on their face when maybe they've had a rough day or whatever. But I feel like the goalposts are constantly moving on what's okay and what's not okay. And yeah, so should I rein it in? Yeah, I should, because I don't want to be tied with 9/11 humor. I don't want to be tied with any of this, to be fair. But man, you get that itch when you're like, I got the right joke. If I could just land the plane. Oh man, right? There it is. There it is. I'm being honest with you, Sydney. It's not easy. Okay, thank you. Jay Allen, my guy. I love State of Combat with Rashad. Thank you. That was a fun stretch, man. I had a few iterations of the MMA podcast on State of Combat. I I did it with King Mo for a while, Mohammed Lawal, which was super fun. Then the company hired Rashad Evans, and that was some of the most fun time. We had Brandon Wise, who's still my editor today, was a third man and then a second man on that. Great stuff. I hope to work with Rashad again someday. I don't know if that'll be in the future of the CBS UFC deal. I'm not really sure what he's up to in that regard right now, but Rashad is one of the most genuine people that I've ever worked with and been across. And I love that man. Seriously. He's a real one. Love me some Rashad. All right, what else we got here, Jay? Saved by the Bell or California Dreams? Dude, Saved by the Bell all the way. I did watch California Dreams. I did F with it at times. It always felt like bootleg Saved by the Bell. It always did. As did Hang Time with Reggie Theus, right? All those ones did. As did Saved by the Bell, the new class, and then the new class again, and then that newer class, and then the new class. Remember the original SBTB new class that had that chick with the black hair? Like that? Yeah, there we go. We all remember that one. She like that dude Tommy, like the leather jacket dude with the soft heart, Yeah, I was explosively a Saved by the Bell guy. I'm a Saved by the Bell historian. Okay. That was my ish. So was, early Beverly Hills 90210. People sometimes forget how good that show was early before it became like a soap opera and basically Melrose Place. But yeah, there you go. Surf Dudes with Attitudes. That's what we're talking about right there. Yep. You know it. All right. There's a lot of great shows. Lazy Bed Nose, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Remember that episode where he played on the Warriors? That was awesome. All right. Also, Holly Robinson Pete. Yeah, from 21 Jump Street. Yeah, she was on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. That's an all-time crush right there. All time. All right. Arturo. Rashad is great. Sounds an interesting combat mind. Yes. His understanding of psychology when it comes to combat is awesome. Yes, indeed. Indeed. He's very honest. Very, very honest about his own shortcomings, what he was thinking in those moments. I got to say, the ayahuasca trip, that the work he's done on himself inside made him a really fun dude to hang with and pod with. No doubt. No doubt. I love that he was, he had a good run on MK with us in the beginning too. Rashad, like a rotating run. It was great. Alan W. Cocaine is cheaper than ever. Just saying, B. Man, what were you responding to? I missed that in real time. But thank you for your support. We're talking about Oscar again. What are we talking about here? All right. Thank you. All right. Run Dem Cheeks is in the house. Yeah, Joe, that's what I'm saying. Thank you very much for supporting me here. BC, as of yesterday morning, my wife and I now own our first. So, dude, congratulations. Yes. Dude, that's a moment. Didn't happen to me until I was 39, by the way. That's a moment right there. Congratulations. It's scary. It is yeah, it's wild. It's wild, man. But there is a true joy to behold the first time. There is like, man, there's a feeling like I made it. I made it. I did it. I did that thing. Joe says, moving the vinyl collection over this weekend, what would you recommend as a good first album to put on once we are settled in? Man, this guy always has the best music questions. Always. All right. What's like if I was coming over, all right, you were making some lasagna for the housewarming party. All right. BC's coming over. I'm going to bring over on vinyl. A lot of choices, a lot of directions you can go here. Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. Yeah, that's it. It's an upbeat rocker. It's a little grimy, it's a little flashy. Damn, that album's good. That's a top 10 album of all time. All right, I'm finally going to do it. I'm finally going to rank the BC ranking, the top 25 albums in the history of BC. All right. Good point by Lazy Bed. Just don't put on Burning Down the House. Slam by Onyx could do better than that, but we all remember that. Yeah. Also like Verses by Pearl Jam. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac for you and the lady, right? I remember like growing up in my rock fandom. Growing up in my rock fandom, I remember seeing that every single man that was married had Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. And you know, when I'm a Zeppelin, Beatles, Stones guy, the Who, the Doors, Hendrix, Pearl Jam, STP, what I'm talking about here. And I'm like, I remember going to Uncle Dave, my musical shaman of many, many decades, of saying, Uncle Dave, like, you got it too? And I remember he said to me, he said, one day you'll get it. You'll get married. And that feeling you have right now of why the hell would I listen to Buckingham and Nicks sing about, their own their own breakup? You know what I mean? Like that you'll just put it on, you'll be married, you'll own your own house, you'll put on Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, and there's just going to be something about the maturity in that moment that you'll sit back and for the first time you'll really get how much Mick Fleetwood's drumming and John McVie's bass just flow together so perfectly, and you'll realize why that's a 5-star album, one of the best of all time. And he was right. He was right. All right, he was right. Arturo wants you though, Joe, to put on some Illmatic. I mean, you could be worse than that. That's pretty damn awesome. One of the best ever. One of the best ever. I mean, I'd pick, dude, Arturo, ooh la la by the Faces. Yeah, brother. Now we're back. Now we're back right here. Okay. Damn, the Faces are such an underrated band. It's Rod Stewart right before he kind of went solo and eventually sold the Soda Pop. Ron Wood on guitar. Oh man, Ian McLaughlin on keyboards. That band is awesome and so underrated. People forget how great Rod Stewart was as a rock lead singer with the Jeff Beck Group, with Faces, and his first 2 solo albums. And then he lost his way aggressively and was singing about if you want his body and you think he's sexy. There you go. There you go. But congratulations, Joe, in the house. Well done, brother. All right. My guy Harden's back at it. Harden DR. Yeah, baby. Bud should we hit that. All right. Thank you. You got another. Oh, he's got another one here. Okay. I've been saving them here. What do you got, Harden? Dana and Turkey looking like divorced parents at Allegiant Stadium, forced to be together for a family event. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. So do I necessarily know what the issues were? No. Did it feel like it all week? Yes. Yes. I think I said that on various streams this week. The press conference moment at the end with the announcement that from reports that part of that force wanting to sort of walk out on his own terms, on his own timing. Is that some of the drama leading up? I don't know. I think it's fair to question, like, can this relationship work? I think ultimately it will, because TKO is trying to be everywhere all at once, and Turkey is making it very easy for them as a financial benefactor, particularly on the boxing side, also particularly on the pro wrestling side. But with the boxing, they do have a window where they can potentially try to take over the sport. So I think they'll figure it out. But what I think is that card was not what Dana and UFC production knew it could have been, should have been in a lot of ways. I'm not saying Turkey shouldn't have a certain level of influence. He's done some really good things for the sport since he's arrived, but I think we also can see some of his promotional limitations. I think sometimes there's too much Turkey on the screen, and it should be more about the fighters, me talking right here. So if we can try to do the math, Harden, on mom and dad fighting there, I guess we can try to understand what it might have been about. I hope they can figure that out, because whether we're all in on, a combat sports monopoly run by TKO or not, they do have a lot of superpowers under that hood. They do have a lot of ways where this could be interesting. We don't know what's going to happen with that Muhammad Ali act. We don't know a lot of things, but yeah, you could feel the uneasiness during that fight week. I'll be interested to see when they work together for another Netflix super fight, how different it looks and feels because of that. We'll see. Now you're hearing though that Richard Schaefer and Canelo's corner, according to Fight Oracle, was the sort of the spark that created some of that. I don't know. I don't know the politics behind the scenes. I don't know really what happened. All right. There you go. Thank you. It's not that I'm wishing Turkey ill will. That's not the case. It's not that I'm saying, get out of here. There's nothing you're bringing here that's good. No, that's not the case either. It's just like at some point it's about the fighters and the fights and the promotion of the fights, not the promotion of one man. Is it that different than sometimes some of the criticisms that we have about the UFC, that maybe they could be pushing stars more, but instead are pushing the three letters and pushing Dana? Maybe it's somewhat similar to that. Maybe sometimes it goes too far. I mean, Turkey has a lot of power. We have really never seen a singular force have this much leverage, control, influence on it. Not even Don King when he was trying to take over the sport. It's just a different time, and I hope it all works out. Yeah, there we go. Oh, Saul, straight off the gutters in Louisville, my guy right there. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for the support. Shout out to your boys over there, Cooney and Gerardo. Isn't Saturday their 24 hours of Shab Fest over there on the 10 Minutes of Shab podcast? Shout out to those gentlemen. Monzo, what do you got, brother? Who's shorter, Dana or Rogan? Rogan by far. I mean, I'm not even trying to dunk on Joe anymore. Well, I guess sometimes I am, and I could do that. By the way, I've seen the height difference between us, but Joe's alarmingly small. I mean, and I always tell that story of UFC 199, where after the event, we walked by the announce table. We were interviewing Bisping in the back for ESPN, and we walked by the announce table, and Joe stands up, and I'm like, "Oh, I might get a chance to meet Rogan. Never did before." And like Goldberg walks by me, and then Joe stands up right next to me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that guy's small." That guy's like horse jockey small. And the same thing happened to me when I met Pacquiao and Marquez the first time, when they did a sort of a media tour at ESPN, and you're just so used to seeing them as these like muscular, larger than life champions, and then they're like 5'5" in front of you. And you're like, "Oh wow." Yeah, there it goes. There it is. Yeah. Rogan's like 5'5". Tell him. Okay, on a good day, possibly on a good day. All right. JL, and can Turkey please stop shadow boxing? I die. I mean, it is okay. It is cringe, but I've always kind of liked the gimmick of either a non-fighter or a washed fighter. It always goes back to Ron Stander, the former heavyweight contender, RIP, who would show up at the Terence Crawford fights in Omaha, stand ringside, the HBO cameras to put on him, and he's like, grizzled and old and drunk, and he's just like, and you just, Ray Finau would always imitate that. It's kind of cringe when Turkey does. You see Dana's face next to him, but like not everything Turkey does is alarmingly cringe. Like I like when he kind of like rips on Versace a little bit, but yeah, there you go. All right. Let's take it on home here. Let's bring it on home. All right, great song by Zeppelin. Let's bring it on home. Here we go. All right, Brody. Did you notice how Brody Moret from Toronto, folks? He's here. Did you notice how both Canelo and Terence thanked Turkey in all of their posts, but never mentioned Dana? Boxing don't respect the bald man. Shake my head. I don't know. Maybe it's they don't respect the bald man yet, or maybe it's both of them had already fought for Turkey beforehand. Turkey's literally the one that is signing the checks. Canelo's not going to make 100 to 150 million for this fight without that. Crawford's not going to make the 40 to 50 million you hear that without it. Is it now? I did hear possibly that Canelo was feuding with the operation. Is that Dana exactly? I'm not sure about some things like national anthems not being played or the timing of all of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a wait and see approach. It's definitely going to be a wait and see approach. But I did notice. I guess I saw that, but didn't think of it. But now that you mention it, yes, I did. I did. All right, let's go to Big Papa here. Thank you, Telvin, for chipping in here. If you could book the UFC White House main card, what would the fights be? Also, yeah, Governor Penn is still taking L's since 2011. Yeah, it's sad to see, man. I mean, what else are we gonna say at this point? It's really sad to see. It's probably gonna end really bad. I don't know what to do about it. All right, I really don't. But to answer your question here, Jones Aspinall for the heavyweight championship is my main event. Connor Nate Diaz 3 is my co-main. Amanda Kayla is the third fight on that main card. Could you imagine? I mean, where else do we go from there? I'd have to kind of look at the roster for sure, but I'd love Max Holloway on that card in a BMF-ish type fight, right? Like a fun brawl, like, similar to the fight he just had with Poirier. Um, could it be him and Chandler, for example? I mean, you could get better picks than that, but something like that where it's just attraction. We love this guy. Max is an American hero, also a Hawaiian hero, no question. I love that. And then I'd like to have another title fight on there. Could it be? Now, Marab's trying to fight every 3 months, right? I mean, could it be Marab again? Could it be Marab Umar 2? Interesting. Could we go, if Poaton's still the light heavyweight champion, could we have him on there in an explosive title defense? There's a lot of ways you can do it, but I think those top 3 fights are kind of impeccable where you could really make this super special. Just me talking here, but thank you, Telvin. All right, old man Dave. Dana told you, in my interview with him on CBS Sports HQ, he wants a TV deal for Zuffa Boxing because no boxing has a TV deal. Yeah, that was not a correct statement. Was boxing recently moving away from TV international, and does boxing need a TV deal again? I'm trying to figure out what he thought he was saying. To be fair, Top Rank's about to announce a TV deal, but hasn't. Some people think it could be Stars. I'm not saying that's the best deal ever. I keep hearing alternate things of ESPN is going to be out of boxing or ESPN is going to get back in, wait and see. So somebody's going to be there. But right now, do we consider PBC as a TV deal with Prime, or is that considered a streaming deal? And this is what separates from Dana. Like if Dana's going to announce, for example, if he's going to announce Paramount CBS, does that count as a TV deal, or is that also a streaming deal? It's if he's trying to say nobody has a TV deal, but he's forgetting that, 2/3 of the boxing promotions are on DAZN at the moment, then maybe in his mind, he's separating streaming from TV. Either way, it plays into the narrative, he wants to spread of boxing's dead. Nobody even has a deal. So the floor is open for me to come in, which also might not be, it's not correct. It's also not incorrect, to be very fair, right? It's kind of both. It's kind of both at the same time. Yeah. Look, I never thought we would be here where the timing couldn't be more perfect for them to come in, change the laws, and actually make a run at this. It is weird lately that Dana he's almost saying that he's almost downgrading what Zuffa Boxing was supposed to be, and he's saying that it's going to be just a feeder league. Is there eventual plans to just merge it all together, with Nick Khan running it behind the scenes, Dana the face of it, Turkey the face of it / paying for it? Still don't know. We still don't know exactly what that's going to look like. My guy, Franco, back at it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you so much. How did you feel about your CBS interview with Dana? Got the sense he was waiting for you to hit him with a hard question and seemed relieved when you kept it above board. #professional. Well, look, I'm never going to lie to you guys, right? Unless I have to. No, I'm seriously. That was my first interview with him of this new era, of this new relationship. Did I feel like it was going to be smart when UFC PR trusted me as a new sort of, I guess, broadcasting partner with them to go backstage with him, which I thought originally was going to get him after the weigh-in backstage. And those are usually those quick 90-second, you get 3 quick questions and you're out. It did surprise me that they came out early and said, hey, you want to go back now? And it turns out I had 9 minutes with him, and I have to say, I felt like I set it up right where he was engaged and he actually was answering the questions and actually, but did I feel like I could go back there and that it was the right time and the right tone, given the change of my role now, to come out like Sean Zettel, which I credit Sean Zettel. If this was 6 months ago and I had that same opportunity, would I have tried to some degree? To some degree, yes. But I didn't feel like this was the right setting to come out and be all Ollie act, all sort of negative. I still wanted to get answers about what he thought the future of Zuffa Boxing could look like. I asked him if he felt that the boxing world has welcomed him or doesn't want him there. I look, it's a science, it's a dance, it's an act. I feel like in the future, this was more important to establish that relationship. I'm a broadcast partner. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try to do journalism. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try to ask key questions, but it's a dance. There's a way to ask them. And to me, in this moment, I wasn't sure how long I was going to get him. A lot of things are running through your head. All the other corporate people are standing right there staring at you, from TKO behind the scenes. Not that that would turn me off from asking what I felt was supposed to be asked, but I felt like in that moment, it was more about let's get his thoughts on the fight. Let's get his thoughts on what his boxing future could be. Did I kick myself afterwards and go, you know what? I probably could have still, or probably should have still asked him a question about the Ali Act and, didn't have to come in a got you or abrasive way. Yeah, I kind of kicked myself after that and said, you know what? I ended up getting him for longer than I wanted. I probably could have had all my cake and eaten it too, right? In the end, I felt like it was good. I felt like it was a good opportunity to establish myself, to get him to maybe say some things he hasn't fully explained yet, and to build the relationship. And look, I'm not going to lie to you, that's what this role is going to be moving forward. That's what ESPN has had the role of in recent years, or what Aaron Bronstetter does with the two networks in Canada that he's worked with. Over time, I feel like I'll have more opportunities to get the answers that we're all looking for. But that was sort of introductory in some ways, Franco. So, did I wake up to some tweets of you sold out all this stuff? Well, yeah, but I'm not offended by it. Those people aren't paying my bills either, and I also have a responsibility to my employer. So I feel like all in all, we landed the plane. There you go. There you go. Serenity now. Did Dana smell like beef and cheese? No, he did not. He did not. He was actually really cool. And he's kind of never really remembered me, I guess you can say, or like, sees me with the CBS mics, like, oh, hey, CBS, like, shake hands. But does he know me? I think he knows me. I mean, he approved me to work on the Callum Wall show last year. So even though we didn't talk in Dublin, I don't know. I tread a little bit lightly because I know the history of my job. By doing your job, you can end up in those hit piece videos. You know what I mean? And I understand that MK has been a different vehicle than I'm used to. It's edgy, it's abrasive. We give the truth the best we can. So that could burn you in the end. But now my role's different, so we'll see where that goes. But I think you have to you got to build to that. You got to certainly build to that. Joe, right back at it. Appreciate you. Best movie posters of all time. That's a great question. It's a great question. It's a great question. I'm trying. I mean, I can look up, what's considered, but I'm trying to think of like, which ones would I want to have, or which ones did I have, or which, people I knew. I mean, everybody had the Scarface one up there. Everybody in college had the Boondock Saints one, or the Pulp Fiction one, or the what have you. I've always really liked the Silence of the Lamb ones. I've always really thought the what's that one with Johnny Depp in Las Vegas there? The one where with Hunter S. Thompson one. You know what I'm talking. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you do. Harden jumping in with maybe Jaws is the best movie poster. Jaws is a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal movie poster. And oh, by the way, not a spoiler alert to any of you, a phenomenal movie that I got to see for the first time because it was one of those rare movies that fell in my blind spot that I just never had seen. And I saw it with my son in 3D in the theater 2 weeks ago for the 50th anniversary, and it was so good. Scarface is a great poster, but when every single person in the United States has it on their wall, it's not awesome anymore. Fear and Loathing, Dave. Yes, Harden hit it too. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Is a great poster. Great movie too, but is a great poster. We Are Live likes The Exorcist here. I'm trying to think here. I mean, there are certain versions of the Star Wars ones. I mean, my favorite Star Wars movie will always be A New Hope, Episode 4. It was the first one. It was the one I watched 3 million times between the ages of 3 and 6 because my grandparents had it on VHS because they had HBO and a VCR before anyone I've ever heard had it. And I used to just beg my parents to sleep over their house so I could watch Star Wars 18 times in a row and not come up for air once. There are some versions of the original one, where Luke is holding the lightsaber with like Leia in his arms. I have framed posters all over this office, but they're mostly music or or fight posters. You've seen some of them behind me through the years. I got Conor Ronaldo from UFC 194. I got Pacquiao Marquez 4. I got the Mauro Ronaldo bipolar rock and roller movie poster signed by him. I've got this badass Boxing After Dark HBO one with Golovkin and Gabriel Rosado on the bottom and Salido and Mikey Garcia on the top. I got Rigondeaux versus Donaire. I got the My Morning Jacket one. I got the Wish You Were Here. Like, I got some ones on there. For some reason, I never bought movie posters like that. I had them a couple up in my first apartment. I had a lot of rock posters. I had at one point like 6 Jimi Hendrix posters in my first apartment, including the one where he's at Monterey Pop with the fire coming out of the guitar with the ruffled shirt. I mean, it's great. But look, Back to the Future has always been a very iconic poster. I'm going to say, though, my favorite one is the Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope one. No question about that. Brody, didn't Dan Rayfield gift? Yeah, so Dan Rayfield gifted me, and I never have it on camera behind me. It's been framed there forever. He gifted me both an English version and a Spanish version of the Donaire Rigondeaux poster because he knew how much I loved Rigo and how much that fight still means so much to me. So it's fantastic. Great stuff. There's a stretch too where I got real into like UFC posters of fights that didn't happen. So I had the Holloway Nurmagomedov one. I had the Rockhold versus Robert Whitaker one, a few other ones like that. And yes, Brody, Dan hated Rigo. That was kind of part of the joke. He gave me a Japanese poster of Rigo, like a little one like that. Dan's a good dude, ultimately, for sure. Shout out to Free Willy. All right, there you go. There you go. All right, we got to bring it on home. I gotta go for the 4-mile loop walk with the lovely lady. She's back. She's back. Here we go. Here we go. Bring it on home. Brody, BC, we need Callum Walsh versus Virgil Ortiz. I want to see Oscar and Dana at a press conference. So you might have seen Oscar's clapback Thursday went after and just shat all over Canelo and Dana. It will be interesting if something like this ever happens where Dana and Oscar are on opposite sides, because it actually has been kind of fun in recent years when Oscar would show up to these press conferences when he had Munguia against Canelo, and he's like talking shit and really stirring the pot up. Same thing he did for Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. This would be absolutely fantastic if it happened. I don't think it would happen. I don't think they're going to push Callum Walsh into a fight this dangerous yet. He's going to have to continue to grow. There was a letdown in his performance on Saturday when he had a big opportunity to shine. He won handily. But it was too safe. He was too safe. And the kid can punch. The kid can fight. I don't know if he's just going to be a contender or a champion. I don't know if this Zuffa boxing thing is just going to be a factory of young fighters fighting each other. And like Dana said, they'll eventually graduate, or if eventually the doors are going to open. I mean, like, there is a possibility that Turkey ends up with his hand everywhere. You see this Lance Pugmire report that Turkey's might promote this PBC card with Tszyu and Shakur in Brooklyn. Like, I don't know the inside story on that. I'd like to find out about that. But could you imagine a scenario where Turkey is just everywhere, and by proxy TKO is, and then suddenly boxing is just one world of one big league? Could that happen? I really don't know what the hell the future is going to bring. It's still kind of like weird and up there. All right. Yeah, Brody, I'm not going to post your Ricky Hatton and Charlie Kirk jokes. It's just not going to happen today. Okay. Harden, Oscar's life makes me sad. Me too. He's my favorite fighter ever. And in his decisions, his behavior, as much as I can laugh at the ridiculousness when he's being a dick. Yeah, I have the same feelings. I do. All right. All right. Back to Telvin. Who do you think had the best UFC walkout song ever? I mean, Liddell. I mean, when Chuck Liddell came out, like, it was an event. It was a feeling. It was you know what I mean? It was super special. And for him to have one song attached to him for so long, it certainly felt that way. I even like when Chael would come out to that country song, Daryl, what's his name? That, you know what I'm saying? It didn't make sense, but it kind of worked. I love when, even though he's not a super elite fighter, when Chiesa comes out to Frankenstein, comes out to Ted Nugent, Stranglehold. I absolutely love when he comes out to that. Jay Allen is right. No Sunshine by Anderson is as iconic as Liddell, right? I mean, DMX for life right there. Those are sort of the ones that jump out. I mean, yes, you guys are filling in the blanks for me before I can get there. Korean Zombie is iconic. Who's DC song? What am I not thinking about with DC right there? Matt Snedden, BC, first time tuning into one of your live. Hey, thank you. Trying my best here. All right. Yeah, Korean Zombie would pop first, but Liddell is always my answer. Obviously, Anderson Silva had the aura. It was the right song. It was cold. It was just yes. Right above it by Lil Wayne. DC used that. Yes. Okay. So what was Chaels? Too Much Fun? Is that the song? Too Much Fun? What's that mean? That weird ass song? It just, I don't know. There's something about that. It always made me laugh. Who does anyone have one today that's like consistent and super iconic? I don't know. There's just something so badass about when Stranglehold comes on and Chiesa comes out. It really is. And thank you for the support of the show. All right, a couple more, then we're going home here. Kevin G, BC, you think you'll ever become, thank you for that, Kevin G. You think you'll ever become one of those one ear pierce kind of guys? No, I won't. There's very few things I really hate and avoid crazy in life. Black licorice, spiders, chicks who smoke cigarettes, although that, I guess I'm not seeking that out anymore. And needles. I really hate flu shots, needles, whatever. I just, I remember like there's a weirdos in elementary school who would like take a pin and, run it through their skin of their hand 5 different ways. And I just be like, you're the weirdest people of all time. I have that freakish thing, like where, if I fall down and scrape myself and there's blood, I'm not going to freak out. But like, I'm not going to do that. My dad would have the one ear pierced in the 80s. He'd have the handlebar mustache, the one ear pierced, the tattoo, and be on the motorcycle. And that was cool. My dad had definitely, he used to wear the John Lennon style glasses as well. He had Ray-Bans before it was cool, or maybe when it was cool back then. No, I'm never going to do the pierce thing. If I did not have this fear or uncomfortability with needles, then I would have right now some of the worst tattoos ever. They're real. Like I would have made the worst tattoo decisions as like a 18, 19-year-old, emotional decisions ever that I probably would end up having to just cover it into one big sleeve. There is a part of me that's artsy that would love to have, some awesome mountain range or something cool and bright colors like you see on my weird paintings on my arms, but it's just not in me in the end. Okay. And in the end, I guess I'm a bare bones meat and potatoes type guy. So no piercings for your boy BC. All right, let's hear from Badge. How high in weight can Shakur go and win belts? All right. He's won titles in 3 weight classes. It looks like he's going to move up to a 4th and take on Teofimo at 40. I always felt like he could compete and will compete at welterweight. Will his power carry up? Will he be more of a Pernell Whitaker? Probably more likely than not, but let's give him the chance. I think he can win. Look, I've long told anybody that will listen, even when Shakur has gone up and down with making maybe poor decisions or maybe fighting in a boring style or protecting his hands or what have you, he's going to end up being the pound for pound king one day. I believe that. I really believe that. So if I believe that, I have to believe he can be a 5-division champion. That would be welterweight. I believe that. I also believe his true ceiling in a right matchup will probably be 154 because he is kind of taller than you realize and longer than you realize. So if his career really maxes out to the full potential, could it be a 6-division champion? It's possible. There's very few people in boxing today that would say it's possible. Bud Crawford could win a 6 title if he goes down to middleweight. It's not easy. Only 2 guys have ever done that, Oscar and Manny. It's easier these days in the proliferated belt era for sure, but yeah, I think welterweight will be his true top, but sometimes people go up one more and go up to 54 and we'll see. All right. Future pound for king. Indeed. Shakur Stevenson. Definitely. Oh, Brody, dude, I would have a lot of Beatles tattoos right now. There's no doubt about it. Probably every album would be on me. I have a Beatles tattoo, BC, of them walking on Abbey Road. Dude, serious, that's badass. Send a pic in. We'll play it on this damn show, okay? Send it in, all right? Also, I always forget to do this. That's the P.O. box. If you guys ever want to send me or LT, Long Island Luke and I, that's the Long Island Luke Morning Combat Main Card Minute BCX P.O. box. If you guys are ever looking to show some love and share. So I'm only showing it because you guys have asked me before, like, hey, can I send you a record or some contraband? And I'm like, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's bring it on home. Jay's back. Thank you. Great stuff today, guys. Great questions. Great support. In 1957, Floyd Patterson fought pro debuting gold medalist. Yes, Pete Rademacher. Yes. Thinking back, that must have been crazy. An Olympic medalist turning pro and fighting for the heavyweight championship in his pro debut. They fought for the heavyweight title. Randy Cooter faced a 2-1 Brock Lesnar for the UFC title. That being said, Gable Stevenson versus Aspinall. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. You know what? When Hamza became the darling of COVID, I was the one saying, put him into a welterweight title shot, whether it's a bad idea or not. It looks like he's just can beat anybody. Let's find out, because once in a while, it's fun doing that. Right? When Brock Lesnar fought for a championship that soon into his career, not far removed from getting tapped out by Frank Mir, did it make a lot of sense? Like, not really, but also yes, because the heavyweight division is shallow. He's this irresistible force, a marketing machine. And the fact that he came in there and won, obviously he had the foundation of the amateur wrestling, but he had a lot of holes in his game too. It's just insane. I like that there's a footnote in history that happened. I would like to see that once in a while. It was cool that Vasily Lomachenko wanted to fight for a world title in his pro debut. It ended up happening in his second fight, ended up winning a title in his third fight. I think, Inoue fought for a title so early that you wondered if he could have been one of those. Gable just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, I feel like if he would have gone directly from winning the gold medal in 2020 with that miraculous thing and then went right into MMA, you almost could have justified it. But I think the fact that he kind of failed at WWE and NFL, it almost looks like he's falling into MMA as a last option. That doesn't mean he won't be good. That doesn't mean it's not in him. But I don't think you can do it now. But I respect the idea. I respect the creativity of it for sure. Yes. Yeah. Great stuff here. The questions today. Fantastic. All right. 2 Chainz. Would Floyd come back to lose for $200 million? Not in a real fight. No. I've saw some people say, why can't he fight Crawford now? It's like, come on, dude. Come on. I don't even want Floyd doing this stupid exhibition with Mike Tyson. I don't want anything to do with it. Floyd is past it. He's not going to come back for any real reason. Shouldn't come back either. If he was like a little bit younger, you could almost argue it, but nah. I mean, but I get the point you're saying. If you put like turkey crazy money on the line, the only way I think is if Pacquiao had beaten Mario Barrios. Now, there's a lot of people like Steven Espinoza who knows Floyd and is like, no, Floyd wouldn't have done that. He's too old. He doesn't want that anymore. But that would have been somewhat weird, but interesting. Imagine if Manny had beaten Barrios, and you could argue that he should have or could have, and then you did that rematch for an actual title. Well, if it's old guy against old guy and they have a history there, maybe you could do it. But Floyd is 2 years older, so nah. I mean, I want to go away from these gimmicks, these old guy fights, Jake Tank. What we had on Saturday, can we just keep having that? What we had with Better BF B-Vol rivalry with Fury versus Usyk, can we just keep having that, please? All right. B, thank you. Thank you, B, for your support here. Am I crazy, or have you worn a Nice Price books from Raleigh, North Carolina? Yes, before. If so, how'd you end up there, and did you get to go to Cup A Joe right beside it? So I've never been there, but you have seen me wear a million Nice Price shirts that you always think says Nico Price, but it doesn't. So this goes back to my early, I think my ESPN boxing days. No, probably more my podcast days with Rafe. Probably at CBS. We used to have, fans write in questions, and we'd get from the Twitter account Nice Price Books. Turns out there's a great fella, Enoch Marchant, who is co-owner of Nice Price. It's a record store that's across the street from NC State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. They used to have multiple locations there. They've had live music at their store. It's a book and record store. And Enoch is the dude, man. He's followed my work for so long. He sends me curated packages of records like a true gentleman, just, great friendship. And we'll throw in the t-shirts. And I always tell him, man, if you got cool new shirts, and sometimes they're rock themed shirts, sometimes they're Joni Mitchell on there or what have you, or some type of connection to a famous song or album. They have a podcast as well where they rank albums. Just a great dude, actually. And he also runs a Survivor pod from the CBS reality show that I'm in as well. Or I skipped this past season, but I'm trying to make a comeback, Enoch. So I've never been there, but I can't wait to visit one day and meet him in person. Just a fantastic dude. If you were in that area for used books, for records, check it out. Great dude, big boxing fan. The long-haired, bearded fella, if you're looking for him. All right. All right, Ben Badge to close us out here. You asked me that. Oh, we got that already. And finally, this is the last one from Yo Mama. Thank you, brother. BC, your top 3 to 5 favorite venues that you love to work and cover fights at. Very good question. Hold on. Tell the lady I'll be right there. Madison Square Garden will always be. That's one. The Punch Bowl, the War Grounds, what do you want to call it? Carson, California. You want to call it the Dignity Health Sports Park. You want to call it StubHub Center. It's a boxing cathedral. It is unique. It is perfect in every single way. There's no fights there anymore, so I can't put it on that list, but my real favorite venue is the MGM Theater at Foxwoods in Connecticut. It's where I covered my first 2 ever fight cards. Lou DiBella used to bring people there. It's where Andre Berto, Victor Ortiz Part 1 was at. It's this tiny theater that just shakes when the fights are crazy there, but no one goes there anymore. So let's go War Grounds. Let's go MSG. Let's go Barclays. Barclays is just premier. It's the best fight crowd in the game. It is just, everyone's getting high in the arena. And it is, when you go there for a big PBC event, Wilder, Danny Garcia, Tank Davis, it is magical. It is special. Let's see what else deserves to really be there. MGM Grand Arena. It's better than T-Mobile. It's intimate. It's legendary. Every major fight I've ever covered was there. It's amazing. I'd like to put Allegiant Stadium on there because that was amazing on Saturday, but that's, it's a little bit of a wild card. Who knows? You got to have the right fight. You got to be able to sell that out. How many fights will be there? We'll see about that. If I had to give you one more, dude, the Staples Center. I mean, it's not quite MSG or Barclays, but as much as I say the best fans come out for Brooklyn, the LA boxing fans are just tremendous. They're looking for a fight too. Staples Center or whatever you call it, crypto.com arena, whatever you're going to call it. I saw a bunch there. I saw Porter versus Spence there. I saw Wilder Fury 1 there. That's a very professional and kind of intimate at the same time. That's a really, really, really good arena. I'm probably forgetting some, particularly on the more intimate side, and I'll kick myself. MSG Theater, which is in the same building as Madison Square Garden, is super special in every single way. That's about it. All right, I got to go walk with this lady before I get divorced. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much, guys. It's been fantastic. Appreciate your support of this podcast. It's just one guy talking in circles with his cat. All right, Reggie, you want to say goodbye? Yeah. Oh, he just woke up. He's fantastic. This is my guy right here, Reginald Jackson. If you're nasty, take care of yourselves and be good. All right. We'll see you next week. That's what we do here. Peace. And we're out of here. Thank you.